Parents sabotaged my college applications so I'd stay home and care for younger siblings. I discovered my parents had been systematically sabotaging my college applications for 2 years to prevent me from leaving home, ensuring I'd remain available to care for my younger siblings while they worked. I'm 19 years old, oldest of 5 children. My siblings are 14, 12, 9, and 6. Since I was about 12, I've been the primary caregiver, getting siblings ready for school, helping with homework, making meals, managing bedtime routines. My parents both work demanding jobs and have always relied on me as the built-in childcare. When I started applying to colleges junior year, my parents seemed supportive. "Of course you should go to college. We're so proud of you." But they kept emphasizing local options. State University is only 20 minutes away. You could live at home, save money, still help with your siblings. I wanted to attend schools farther away, not across the country, just a few hours' drive. Schools with better programs for my major, opportunities for growth, normal college experience. I applied to 8 universities, including 3 out-of-state schools with strong engineering programs. Rejection letters came back from all 8 schools, every single one. I was devastated. My grades were excellent, test scores strong, extracurriculars solid. I couldn't understand how I'd been rejected everywhere. My parents comforted me. "Maybe college isn't meant to be right now. You can take classes at community college, keep living here, help with the kids. Try again next year." I did. Applied to 10 schools sophomore year. Different mix of schools, some easier to get into. Again, rejected from all 10. My guidance counselor was baffled. "Your application should be competitive. Something's wrong here." Last week I found emails on my dad's laptop. He'd logged into my application accounts and withdrawn my applications after I submitted them, then deleted the withdrawal confirmations so I never knew. For 2 years, the rejection letters weren't real rejections. They were responses to withdrawn applications. My parents had been sabotaging me so I'd stay home as free childcare. The discovery that my parents had been deliberately sabotaging my college applications for 2 years was devastating. I confronted them with the email evidence showing my dad accessing my accounts and withdrawing applications. "You withdrew my college applications? For 2 years? You've been sabotaging me?" Mom didn't deny it. "We need you here. Your siblings need you. Who's going to watch them if you leave?" "Hire childcare. That's not my responsibility." Dad was defensive. "You're part of this family. We all contribute. Your contribution is helping raise your siblings." "I'm 19. I've been raising them since I was 12. I deserve to have my own life." "You can have a life here. Go to community college. Live at home. This works for everyone." "It works for you. It doesn't work for me." I moved out that week, stayed with my best friend's family while figuring out my next steps. My parents were furious, calling constantly. "Who's watching the kids? You're being selfish. We need you." I contacted the 8 schools from my first application round and 10 from the second, explaining what had happened, that my applications had been fraudulently withdrawn by my parents without my knowledge. I provided evidence of the sabotage and asked if they'd reconsider my applications. 6 schools responded sympathetically. 3 offered to review my original applications. 2 universities, one I desperately wanted to attend, offered immediate admission for the next semester with housing accommodations given my unusual circumstances of parental interference. I accepted admission to my top choice, full schedule starting January, dorm room arranged. Finally going to college at 19, 2 years later than planned because my parents sabotaged me. My parents are scrambling to find childcare now that I've left. They tried demanding I come back. "You have a responsibility to this family." "No, you have a responsibility to your children, not me. I'm your child too, not your employee." They threatened to withhold documents I'd need for college. Birth certificate, social security card. I'd already gotten copies. They threatened to refuse financial aid cooperation. I'm filing as independent student, given the documented sabotage. My siblings are confused and angry. At me for leaving, at our parents as they realize I was being exploited. I feel guilty, but also finally free. College started in January. I moved into the dorm, started classes in engineering, and began experiencing the normal college life I'd been denied for 2 years. The transition was harder than expected. I'd spent so long in caregiver role that learning to focus on myself felt strange and selfish. My parents didn't give up easily. They showed up at my dorm unannounced with my younger siblings, trying to guilt me into coming home. "The kids miss you. Look how sad they are without you." I told campus security not to allow them access to my building. They called my university claiming I'd stolen money from them, false, and shouldn't be allowed to enroll. The university reviewed my case and the documented evidence of their sabotage, then banned them from campus. They contacted my professors claiming I had family obligations that should excuse me from classes so I could come home on weekdays. My academic advisor shut that down immediately. Finally, they tried claiming I'd abandoned my siblings and reporting me to child services. Investigation quickly determined my siblings had 2 able-bodied parents at home, and the 19-year-old older sister had no legal responsibility for their care. Case dismissed. Social services did, however, investigate my parents for educational neglect of me. The sabotage had prevented me from accessing education I was entitled to. They received warnings about parentification and exploitation of their oldest child. My siblings have slowly come to understand what happened. My 14-year-old sister is furious at our parents. "They ruined your college plans for 2 years so you'd babysit us? That's so messed up." The younger ones don't fully grasp it yet, but they're adjusting to new childcare arrangements my parents finally hired. I'm thriving academically. Engineering program is challenging but rewarding. I've made friends, joined clubs, started research project with a professor. Everything I dreamed of for 2 years while my parents sabotaged my applications. My parents still occasionally email asking when I'm coming to my senses and moving home. I don't respond. Some family members think I'm being too harsh. They're your parents. They made a mistake. Forgive them. Others support me completely. What they did was sabotage and exploitation. You don't owe them your future. I don't know if I'll reconcile with my parents eventually. Right now, I'm focused on the education they tried to prevent me from getting, and the future they tried to steal. I'm building the life they sabotaged. Uncle had been secretly editing my job applications to include racist content. I discovered my uncle had been hacking my email and editing my job applications before they sent, inserting racist and offensive language to ensure I'd never get hired. I'm 25 years old, graduated with engineering degree 2 years ago, been searching for full-time position in my field since graduation. I've applied to over 200 jobs, always got rejections or no response. My qualifications are strong, my portfolio solid, but I couldn't even land interviews. My Uncle Frank lives in my parents' basement, unemployed for 5 years, spends most of his time online. He's always resented my education, makes comments about liberal colleges and how my degree is worthless. When I'd complain about job search struggles, he'd say, "Told you that degree was a waste." 3 months ago, I applied to engineering position at a company where my friend works. She's in HR, said she'd put in good word. I sent application, waited for response. Week later, my friend called. "What the hell did you write in your application?" "What do you mean?" "The cover letter. It's full of racist statements, slurs, offensive content about diversity hiring. We rejected you immediately and flagged your application. I'm calling as a friend, not as HR. What were you thinking?" "I didn't write anything racist. Let me see the application you received." She forwarded what their system had received. My cover letter had been completely altered. Between paragraphs of my actual professional writing were inserted sentences like, "Diversity hiring is reverse discrimination," and Companies should hire based on merit, not skin color quotas. And worse, including actual racial slurs I would never use. Someone had intercepted my application and edited it to include racist content before it reached the company. I checked my sent folder. The version I'd sent was clean, professional, appropriate. But the company received something completely different. I started checking other applications from the past 2 years. Requested copies of what companies had actually received. 8 companies responded. All 8 showed my applications had been edited to include racist, sexist, or otherwise offensive content I'd never written. Someone had been sabotaging my job applications for 2 years. Every rejection, every silence, explained by the fact that companies were receiving applications full of offensive content under my name. I hired a cybersecurity expert to trace how my applications were being intercepted and modified. Within 2 days, he found the breach. Someone with access to my home Wi-Fi was using packet-sniffing software to intercept my emails, edit them, then send the modified versions from my account while deleting evidence from my sent folder. The IP address traced to my Uncle Frank's computer in the basement. Frank had been hacking my email, waiting for me to send job applications, intercepting them, editing them to include racist and offensive content, then sending the modified versions to employers while making it look like they came from me. For 2 years. I installed monitoring software and caught him in real time. I sent test application to fake job posting, watched Frank intercept it, open the document, add paragraph about affirmative action ruining merit-based hiring, and send the edited version, all while original clean version sat in my drafts. Video evidence showed him actively sabotaging my job search in real time. I confronted him with evidence. He didn't deny it. You've been editing my job applications? Adding racist content? For 2 years? You don't deserve those jobs. You got your degree through liberal indoctrination, not actual merit. I'm exposing what your generation really believes. I don't believe any of what you're inserting. You're sabotaging my career with content I'd never write. You're 25 with a fancy degree, living at home, can't get a job. Maybe you're not as qualified as you think. Because you've been making companies think I'm racist. Every application for 2 years has been sabotaged. Good. Maybe you'll learn something about the real world. I reported everything to police: computer hacking, identity theft, defamation, and interference with economic opportunity. Showed them the packet-sniffing software on Frank's computer, video of him editing my application in real time, and documentation of 200+ applications that were potentially sabotaged. Detective was disturbed. Your uncle has been hacking your email to insert racist content into job applications. For 2 years? That's severe cybercrime and economic sabotage. I also reported to companies that had received sabotaged applications, explaining what happened and providing evidence of the hacking. Several apologized and invited me to resubmit clean applications. My parents kicked Frank out immediately. You sabotaged your nephew's career for 2 years? Made companies think he's racist? Get out of our house. Criminal charges filed against Frank: computer hacking, identity theft, defamation, interference with prospective economic advantage, and cyber harassment. Civil lawsuit followed for damages to my career and reputation. Prosecutor emphasized systematic nature. Defendant hacked victim's email for 2 years, intercepting over 200 job applications. He edited each one to include racist and offensive content, then sent modified versions to employers under victim's name. This destroyed victim's employment prospects and professional reputation. Evidence included packet-sniffing software on Frank's computer, video of him editing application in real time, testimony from companies about offensive content they'd received, and comparison between my original applications versus what employers received. Cybersecurity expert testified, defendant used sophisticated packet interception to capture victims' emails before they left home network, modified them to include offensive content, then transmitted from victim's account. Victim had no way of knowing applications were being altered. Companies testified. We received applications containing racist statements and slurs. We immediately rejected and flagged the applicant. Learning the content was inserted by family member without applicant's knowledge. We're appalled. My testimony. For 2 years, I couldn't understand why I couldn't get interviews despite strong qualifications. I blamed myself, thought something was wrong with my applications. Learning my uncle was sabotaging every single submission by inserting racist content. He destroyed 2 years of my career. Frank showed no remorse. He deserved it for wasting money on liberal college degree. Judge, you systematically hacked your nephew's email to sabotage his career. That's not political statement, that's cybercrime. Convicted on all counts. Sentenced to 4 years in prison for computer crimes and defamation, 3 years probation, restitution for lost career opportunities, and permanent restraining order. Several companies invited me to resubmit applications with assurance previous sabotaged versions would be disregarded. Within 2 months, I had 3 job offers. Accepted position at engineering firm, good salary, benefits, career path. Been working there 6 months now, thriving professionally. Finally building career that was delayed 2 years by Frank's sabotage. Frank's in prison. I'm employed. My parents apologized for not recognizing what he was doing while living in their basement. Extended family divided. He was just expressing political views. He was hacking my email and committing cybercrime for 2 years. That's not political expression, that's sabotage. I'm 25, 2 years behind in career trajectory, because my uncle spent 2 years editing my applications to include racist content I never wrote. Now employed, building career, recovering reputation. 4 years. Frank's serving. 2 years he sabotaged me. 200 applications he potentially corrupted with offensive content. Numbers that tell the story. Prison time earned. Career finally starting despite his interference. Employed now. Earning. Building future Frank tried to prevent with racist insertions. Everything he sabotaged. Everything I'm achieving anyway. Frank imprisoned. Me employed. Fair trade for 2 years of sabotage. Working. Succeeding. Proving he couldn't stop me permanently. That's enough. Mother convinced my fiancé I had terminal illness to break up our engagement. I discovered my mother had been secretly telling my fiancé I had terminal brain cancer for 8 months to make him leave me before our wedding. I'm 24 years old, engaged to my boyfriend of 4 years, Jake. We'd been planning our wedding for next spring, venue booked, invitations ordered, everything moving forward. My mother, Carol, has never approved of Jake. She thinks I'm too young to get married, that Jake isn't ambitious enough, that I should focus on career instead of settling down in my early 20s. 6 months ago, Jake started acting distant. He'd get emotional randomly, hug me like he was saying goodbye, tell me he loved me with this desperate intensity that felt off. When I'd ask what was wrong, he'd say nothing. But clearly, something was bothering him. He started suggesting we postpone the wedding. Maybe wait another year or 2. No rush, right? We've been planning for months. Deposits are paid. Why postpone now? Just think we should wait. Make sure we're ready. His behavior got stranger, crying at odd moments, looking at me like I was dying, acting like every day together might be our last. I started worrying he was having second thoughts about marriage and couldn't tell me directly. 3 weeks ago, Jake broke down completely. Sobbing, told me we needed to call off the wedding. I can't do this. It's too hard. I love you, but I can't marry you. What's happening? Talk to me. Your mom told me about the brain cancer, that you're dying, that you only have months left, but you're hiding it from everyone because you don't want pity. She said you wanted one perfect wedding day before you get too sick. My blood went cold. What brain cancer? I don't have cancer. Your mom showed me medical records, diagnosis reports, said you made her promise not to tell me, but she couldn't watch me marry you without knowing the truth. My mother had fabricated terminal illness diagnosis to break us up. I immediately called my mother. You told Jake I have brain cancer? You showed him fake medical records? I did what I had to do. You're throwing your life away on this wedding. You're 24. You should be building your career, not playing house with a man who works construction. So you invented terminal illness, made my fiancé think I'm dying. I thought he'd leave once he knew you were sick. Figured he'd run rather than deal with dying girlfriend. But he stayed. So I had to tell him you were hiding the diagnosis because you wanted one happy wedding before you died. I'm not dying. There's no brain cancer. Obviously, but he doesn't know that. He thinks you're terminal. He'll leave to spare himself the pain. Wedding gets canceled. You can move on with your actual life. I was shaking with rage. You destroyed my engagement with fake cancer diagnosis? I'm saving you from mistake. You'll thank me eventually. I got. Jake and we went to my doctor together. Full neurological exam, brain scans, blood work, everything. Doctor confirmed, completely healthy, no cancer, no terminal illness, no medical issues whatsoever. Showed Jake the results. I'm not sick. My mother fabricated everything. Jake was devastated. Your mom lied? She showed me medical records with your name, diagnosis dates, prognosis. She cried telling me you were dying. She forged medical documents to break us up. We reported to police. Presenting fake medical records to induce someone to break off relationship constitutes fraud and forgery. Gave them the documents my mother had shown Jake, claiming I had terminal brain cancer. Forensics confirmed the documents were forgeries, wrong hospital letterhead formats, fake doctor signatures, fabricated diagnosis codes. My mother was arrested, charged with fraud, forgery of medical documents, and identity theft, using my name and information on fake records. Wedding went forward as planned. Jake's family was supportive, but some kept asking if I was really okay. My mother's lie had created lingering doubt, even after proof I was healthy. My father divorced my mother over this. Faking our daughter's terminal illness to break up her engagement? I can't be married to someone who'd do that. Criminal trial proceeded. Prosecutor emphasized calculated cruelty. Defendant created elaborate fake medical records showing her daughter had terminal brain cancer. Showed these forged documents to daughter's fiancé with intent to destroy their engagement. Defendant caused severe emotional distress by making the fiancé believe his partner was dying. Evidence included the forged medical records, expert testimony about document fabrication, Jake's testimony about months of believing I was dying, and my mother's own admission that she'd invented the illness to break us up. My mother showed no remorse. I was trying to save my daughter from bad decision. Judge: by making her fiancé think she was dying? By forging medical documents? By causing months of emotional trauma? He wasn't right for her. The relationship needed to end. That wasn't your decision to make through fraud and deception. Convicted on all counts. Sentenced to 2 years in prison for fraud and forgery, 3 years probation, mandatory mental health treatment, and permanent restraining order from me. Jake and I got married as planned. Beautiful ceremony, happy day. But the ghost of my mother's lie lingered. Some guests couldn't help but look at me like they were still half expecting me to collapse from non-existent brain cancer. I'm 24 and married to the love of my life despite my mother inventing terminal illness to stop the wedding. We're happy, building life together, planning future she tried to destroy. My mother's in prison. My father divorced her. Extended family split. Some think she went too far. Others think I'm overreacting to mother's concern. She just wanted what's best for you. She forged medical records claiming I had brain cancer. Made my fiancé think I was dying. Caused months of trauma. That's not concern, that's sabotage. Jake still has nightmares about the 8 months he thought I was dying. Therapy helping, but you can't erase months of believing your partner has terminal illness. I'm healthy. Always was. Mother invented cancer I never had. 2 years she's serving. 8 months Jake thought I was dying. 4 years we'd been together before she tried to destroy it with fake diagnosis. Numbers that tell the story. Prison time she earned. Months of trauma she caused. Years of happiness she tried to end. We survived her sabotage. Got married despite fake cancer. Building life she couldn't destroy with forged medical records. Mother's in prison. We're married. She tried to stop our wedding with fabricated terminal illness. Failed completely. That's enough. Living happily. Loving each other. Proving Mother wrong about everything. She wanted us apart. We're together. She invented my death. I'm alive and married. Fair ending. Just consequence. Appropriate outcome. Everything she tried to prevent. Everything that happened anyway. Despite her. Beyond her. Without her. That's victory. Brother told everyone I was dead to steal my identity and live my life. I discovered my older brother had been telling everyone I was dead for 18 months while using my identity to attend my college, date my girlfriend, and live my life. I'm 20 years old, took a gap year after high school to work abroad teaching English in South Korea. My brother Ethan is 22, graduated college 2 years ago, and has been drifting, no career direction, living at home, playing video games. We'd never been particularly close, but I didn't expect what he'd do while I was overseas. I had limited contact with home during my year abroad. Different time zones, spotty internet in rural Korea, busy teaching schedule. I'd message family occasionally, post updates on social media, but wasn't in constant communication. Normal for someone spending a year overseas. I came home last month, excited to start college. I'd been accepted to State University before leaving for Korea and deferred enrollment 1 year. Planned to move into dorms, start classes, reconnect with my girlfriend Maya, who I'd been dating since junior year of high school. When I arrived at the airport, nobody was there to pick me up. I called my parents, no answer. Called Ethan, straight to voicemail. Texted Maya, message wouldn't deliver. Confused and jet-lagged, I took a cab home. The house was empty. I used my key to get in, dragged my luggage upstairs, and crashed for 12 hours. When I woke up, my parents still weren't home. I checked my room. It had been cleaned out. All my belongings were gone. My furniture, clothes, personal items, everything removed like I'd never lived there. I finally reached my mom by phone. Her reaction was strange. "Who is this?" "Mom, it's me. I'm home from Korea." Long silence. Then, "This isn't funny. Stop calling this number." She hung up. I tried calling back. She'd blocked me. I drove to Maya's house. Her mom answered the door, saw me, and screamed. Actual screaming, like she'd seen a ghost. Maya came running, saw me, and burst into tears. "You're dead," Maya sobbed. "We had a funeral. Ethan told us you died in Korea. There was a memorial service. How are you here?" That's when I understood. Ethan had told everyone I died. While I was alive and teaching in Korea, he'd fabricated my death and stolen my life. The realization that Ethan had faked my death was surreal and horrifying. Maya couldn't stop crying and shaking. Ethan said there was an accident in Korea, a bus crash. He showed us news articles about Americans killed abroad. He said your body was cremated there because of Korean laws. We mourned you for 18 months. I've been alive the whole time, teaching English, posting on social media. Ethan said he was managing your accounts as a memorial. He'd post occasionally from your profiles saying things like, "Remembering good times," so people could leave tributes. We thought it was him honoring your memory. I checked my social media. Ethan had changed all my passwords and had been posting as me, vague, nostalgic posts that people interpreted as memorial tributes from my grieving brother. He'd been responding to messages in my voice, maintaining the illusion I was active online while actually controlling all my accounts. But it got worse. Maya told me Ethan had enrolled in college using my acceptance letter and deferred enrollment. He said he wanted to honor your memory by completing the degree you'd planned to pursue. We thought it was beautiful. Your brother living out your dreams because you couldn't. Ethan had been attending my college, in my classes, using my student ID. He'd stolen my entire college enrollment. And Maya. After the funeral, Ethan and I got close. He was so devastated about losing you. We comforted each other. We've been dating for 14 months. He moved into your dorm room, took your classes, became the person you were supposed to be. My brother hadn't just faked my death. He'd stolen my identity, my college enrollment, my girlfriend, and my entire planned life. He'd been living as me while I was overseas, convincing everyone I was dead. I went to campus, found Ethan in what should have been my dorm room, surrounded by what should have been my college experience. When he saw me, he went pale. You're supposed to be in Korea for another 6 months. You told everyone I was dead. You stole my college enrollment. You're dating my girlfriend. What the hell is wrong with you? You weren't using any of this. You went abroad. I took the opportunity you weren't taking. I became you because you abandoned being you. I was coming back. I deferred enrollment for a year. That's normal. By the time you got back, I'd have graduated with your degree. You could have just started over somewhere else. I reported everything to university administration. Ethan had fraudulently enrolled using my acceptance letter and student ID while I was abroad. The registrar was horrified. Your brother has been attending classes under your identity for 3 semesters. That's identity theft, fraud, and violation of enrollment policies. All of Ethan's coursework was invalidated. Credits earned under my name were voided. He was expelled and banned from campus. Police were called for identity theft investigation. I reported to police formally. Charges filed: identity theft, fraud, falsifying death records, and impersonation. Detectives discovered Ethan had created fake news articles about bus crashes in Korea with doctored lists of American casualties, including my name. He'd shown these fake articles to family and friends as proof of my death. My parents were devastated. We mourned you. We planned a funeral. Ethan showed us death certificates, news reports, everything. We believed our son was dead. While I was alive and posting on social media, he said he was managing your accounts as memorial. We didn't question it. We were grieving. My father broke down. I can't believe Ethan would do this. Why would he fake your death? Investigation revealed Ethan's motives through his messages and search history. Steal brother's college acceptance. Live someone else's life. How to fake death certificate. He'd planned this before I even left for Korea. Maya was traumatized. I thought you were dead. I mourned you. The person I've been dating for 14 months was pretending to be you? I've been in relationship with your brother while he wore your identity? Our relationship didn't survive. Too much trauma, too much confusion about who she'd actually been with. The university allowed me to enroll immediately with full housing accommodations. I started the classes Ethan had been fraudulently attending as me. Ethan was convicted of identity theft and fraud, sentenced to 3 years in prison. My parents struggled to process that one son had faked the other son's death to steal his life. Extended family was horrified. Ethan convinced everyone you were dead, attended your college as you, dated your girlfriend while pretending to be you? That's psychotic. I'm 20, starting college 2 years late because my brother stole my identity and enrollment. Rebuilding life he tried to take. Making friends who never knew me when Ethan was pretending to be me. Some people still seem uncomfortable around me. I'm the dead person who came back to life. The brother who was mourned and buried, symbolically, now walking around campus where my impersonator had been living as me. Ethan's in prison. I'm in college. Finally living the life he stole for 18 months. Not the homecoming I expected. But it's mine now. Actually mine, not his version of me. That's enough. Father was secretly drugging me to fail drug tests and lose custody of my daughter. I discovered my father had been putting drugs in my food for 5 months to make me fail court-ordered drug tests and lose custody of my infant daughter. I'm 21 years old, single mother to my 8-month-old daughter Emma. Her father and I broke up during pregnancy, and he's been fighting for custody since she was born. Family court ordered drug testing as part of custody evaluation, standard procedure to ensure both parents provide safe environment. I've never used drugs, never smoked, rarely drink, completely sober lifestyle. The custody battle was stressful enough without adding substance abuse. I was confident the drug tests would show I was fit parent. 4 months ago, I failed a drug test. Tested positive for methamphetamine. I was shocked. Told the court there must be mistake. I'd never touched meth in my life. They ordered retest. Failed again. And again. 3 positive tests over 2 months. My lawyer was frustrated. The court thinks you're lying about drug use. You keep testing positive. If this continues, you'll lose custody. I swear I'm not using drugs. I don't understand how this is happening. Emma's father used the failed tests in court. She's clearly abusing methamphetamine while caring for our infant daughter. I should have full custody. Judge was concerned. Ms. Williams, 3 positive drug tests suggest ongoing substance abuse. I'm ordering supervised visitation only until you can demonstrate sobriety. I lost unsupervised access to my own daughter because of drug tests I couldn't explain. Emma went to stay primarily with her father. I could only see her with a supervisor present. I was devastated and confused. How was I testing positive for drugs I'd never taken? I'd been living with my parents during the custody battle, needed help with childcare, and couldn't afford my own place yet. My father kept encouraging me to accept reality about the custody situation. Maybe Emma's father should have primary custody. You're young, struggling. Let him raise her. I want to raise my daughter. I'm a good mother. The drug tests say otherwise. Last week I caught my father putting white powder into my morning coffee while he thought I wasn't looking. I confronted him. He'd been drugging me with methamphetamine for months to make me fail tests and lose custody. I didn't drink the coffee. Instead, I saved it and took it to a lab for testing. Results confirmed methamphetamine in the coffee, same substance I'd been testing positive for. I installed hidden cameras in the kitchen. Over the next 3 days, caught my father on video adding powder to my food and drinks multiple times. He was systematically drugging me to sabotage the custody case. When I confronted him with the evidence, he didn't deny it. You've been poisoning me? Making me fail drug tests? Why? Emma's father is better equipped to raise her. He's older, established, has stable home. You're 21, living with your parents, barely making ends meet. This custody battle was just delaying the inevitable. So you drugged me to make me lose my daughter. I was helping move things along. You'd have figured it out eventually that you can't do this alone. By making me test positive for meth. By making the court think I'm an addict. The ends justify the means. Emma will have better life with her father. I reported everything to police immediately, showed them the video evidence, the lab results from the coffee, and my hair follicle test showing no long-term drug use, proving the positive tests were from recent external exposure, not habitual use. Police arrested my father. Charges: poisoning, tampering with drug test results, child endangerment, exposing infant to drug-positive environment he created, and conspiracy to commit fraud on the court. I filed emergency motion with family court, presenting all evidence, videos of father drugging food, lab tests showing contamination, hair follicle results proving I wasn't habitual user, and father's admission captured on recording. Judge was furious. Your father was deliberately contaminating your food with methamphetamine to make you fail court-ordered drug tests? This is unconscionable fraud on this court. Custody arrangement immediately modified back to my favor. Emma's father's attorney tried to argue I should have known I was being drugged, but Judge shut that down. The victim is not responsible for her father's criminal poisoning scheme. Within 1 week, I had Emma back full-time. Supervised visitation requirement lifted. My father's tampering had been exposed and custody restored. Criminal case against my father proceeded quickly. Evidence was overwhelming. Video of him drugging food, lab results showing methamphetamine in items he'd prepared, my clean hair follicle test proving no habitual use, and his own admission on recording. Prosecutor: defendant systematically poisoned his daughter with methamphetamine for 5 months to make her fail court-ordered drug tests. His goal was ensuring she'd lose custody of her infant granddaughter. He caused her to be deemed unfit parent through chemical sabotage. My father showed no remorse. I was doing what's best for Emma. Her mother isn't ready to raise a child alone. Judge: that wasn't your decision to make by poisoning your daughter and defrauding the court. He was convicted on all charges, sentenced to 4 years in prison, 3 years probation, restitution for my legal fees, and permanent restraining order from Emma and me. Emma's father lost significant credibility with the court for using the fraudulent drug tests to try to gain custody. Judge noted, "You built your custody case on test results that were product of criminal poisoning. While you may not have known about the tampering, the foundation of your petition was fraudulent." Final custody arrangement. I have primary custody. Emma's father has standard visitation. Fair outcome based on actual parenting ability rather than manufactured drug test results. My mother divorced my father. You poisoned our daughter? Made her lose custody of our granddaughter through fraud? I can't be married to someone who'd do that. I moved out of my parents' house immediately, found apartment, started rebuilding independent life with Emma. I'm 21, single mother with full custody of my 8-month-old daughter. Custody I nearly lost because my father drugged me for 5 months. Emma's thriving, I'm sober, always was, and father's in prison for the poisoning scheme. Some family thinks I overreacted. He was trying to help in his own misguided way. He poisoned me with methamphetamine, made me appear to be drug addict to court, caused me to lose custody of my baby. That's not misguided help. That's criminal sabotage. Others support me completely. What he did was monstrous. You were right to prosecute. Emma doesn't know yet what her grandfather did. She's too young. Someday I'll explain why she doesn't see him, that he tried to take her from me through chemical poisoning and fraud. My father's in prison. I have my daughter. Drug tests now clean because nobody's contaminating my food. 4 years he's serving. 5 months he poisoned me. 8 months Emma has been alive. Half her life under threat of custody loss due to his sabotage. Numbers that matter. Prison time earned. Custody that's mine now, legitimately, without fraudulent drug tests. Living in my own apartment. Raising my daughter. Proving I'm capable parent my father claimed I wasn't. He wanted Emma's father to have custody. I have custody. He poisoned me to prove I was unfit. I proved I'm fit despite his sabotage. Everything he tried to prevent, everything that's happening anyway. Emma's with me, where she belongs, where she'd have always been if father hadn't drugged me. That's enough. Sister secretly reported me to Child Protective Services claiming I abuse my foster kids. I discovered my sister had been filing false child abuse reports against me for 7 months to force removal of my foster children and end my foster parenting. I'm 26 years old, licensed foster parent for 2 years, currently fostering 2 siblings, Emma, 7, and Noah, 5, who've been with me for 18 months. Fostering is my passion. giving stable home to kids who need it. My sister Kelly is 29, child-free by choice, thinks I'm too young to be foster parent, and that fostering is playing house with other people's trauma. 7 months ago, Child Protective Services showed up unannounced for home inspection. We received report of possible abuse or neglect, need to investigate immediately. What report? There's no abuse here. They investigated thoroughly, interviewed kids, examined home, checked medical records. Found nothing. Case closed as unfounded. 2 weeks later, another report. Another investigation. Again, unfounded. This kept happening. 8 CPS investigations over 7 months, each claiming different forms of abuse or neglect. Emma locked in closets. Noah denied food. Both beaten. Unsanitary living conditions. All completely false. Each investigation was traumatic. CPS workers showing up unannounced, questioning children about abuse that never happened, examining their bodies for injuries that didn't exist. Emma started having nightmares about being taken away. Noah regressed in his progress. My caseworker was concerned. Someone is repeatedly reporting false abuse claims. The pattern suggests deliberate harassment. We're required to investigate every report, but this is clearly malicious. Who would do this? Reports are anonymous, but they contain specific details about your home layout and the children's routines. Someone with access to your household. I reviewed who had that access. Family members who visited regularly. Kelly was there frequently, always making comments. "You're so young to have this responsibility. What if you mess these kids up more than they already are?" Last report was filed 3 days ago. Claimed I was starving the children and keeping them isolated. During investigation, CPS worker accidentally revealed detail. The reporter said you keep the children locked in the back bedroom and only feed them once a day. Only Kelly called it the back bedroom. Everyone else called it the kids' room. That specific phrasing gave her away. I confronted Kelly directly. "Have you been filing false CPS reports against me?" She didn't deny it. "Someone needs to stop you from ruining those kids. You're 26, single, no experience. You're experimenting with children's lives. I'm licensed, trained, and those kids are thriving. CPS has investigated 8 times and found nothing because there's nothing to find. Yet. There will be eventually. You'll mess up and I'll make sure CPS is ready to remove them immediately." You've been traumatizing Emma and Noah with false abuse reports? They think they're going to be taken away because you keep filing fake claims? Good. Maybe they should be removed before you damage them permanently. I reported everything to CPS and police. False child abuse reports are serious crime, wasting CPS resources, traumatizing children, and harassing licensed foster parents. CPS investigator assigned to my case. "We suspected malicious reporting. Your sister has filed 8 false reports in 7 months? That's criminal." Police investigated Kelly's phone and computer records, found drafts of CPS reports she'd filed, notes about my household she'd gathered during visits to make reports more credible, and messages to friend. Filed another CPS report on my sister. Eventually they'll find something or just remove the kids for precaution. Kelly was charged with 8 counts of filing false reports, child endangerment, traumatizing foster children, obstruction of government services, and harassment. My foster care license was completely cleared. CPS issued statement. Foster parent has been victim of sustained malicious reporting campaign by family member. All investigations found no evidence of abuse or neglect. Foster parent's license remains in good standing. Emma and Noah stayed with me. Therapy helped them process the trauma of repeated CPS investigations they didn't understand. Kelly's trial proceeded quickly. Evidence overwhelming. She'd filed 8 detailed false reports over 7 months, deliberately traumatizing children to force their removal from stable foster home. Prosecutor. Defendant systematically filed false child abuse reports against her sister for 7 months. Each report required full investigation, traumatizing the foster children who feared removal from stable placement. Defendant's goal was ending her sister's foster parenting through fraudulent abuse claims. CPS workers testified about the 8 investigations, each requiring hours of work, interviews with traumatized children, medical exams, home inspections, all based on Kelly's fabricated reports. Every report was unfounded. No evidence of abuse, neglect, or unsafe conditions. The children are well cared for, thriving, and bonded with foster parent. The reports were clearly malicious. Therapist for Emma and Noah testified. These children have experienced significant trauma in their lives before foster placement. They were finally stabilizing with their foster mother. The repeated CPS investigations caused regression, nightmares, anxiety about removal, fear of authority figures. The defendant's false reports directly harmed these vulnerable children. My testimony. Kelly filed 8 false abuse reports in 7 months. Each investigation was terrifying for Emma and Noah. They'd see CPS workers and think they were being taken away. Emma would cry asking what she did wrong. Noah would hide. Kelly traumatized. Children who'd already experienced enough trauma. Evidence included Kelly's own notes detailing what to report to make claims seem credible, messages about her campaign to have kids removed, and CPS records showing pattern of false reports with increasingly detailed fabrications. Kelly's defense claimed she had genuine concerns about my foster parenting. My client worried about children's welfare. Prosecutor. Defendant's messages show she wanted children removed because she disapproves of her sister's foster parenting, not because of actual safety concerns. She wrote, "Eventually they'll remove the kids," and "I need to stop her from fostering." This was harassment, not concern. Judge. You filed 8 false child abuse reports. You traumatized vulnerable foster children. You wasted government resources. You harassed your sister. That's not concern. That's criminal. Convicted on all counts. Sentenced to 18 months in prison, 3 years probation, restitution for CPS investigation costs, mandatory parenting child welfare education, and permanent restraining order from me and any children in my care. Emma and Noah are still with me, thriving. No more surprise CPS visits. Their adoption is finalizing next month. They'll officially be my children permanently. Kelly's in prison. The false reports stopped. My foster license is clear. Emma and Noah are safe and loved. I'm 26, adopting 2 children I've fostered for nearly 2 years. Everything Kelly tried to prevent is happening. I'm becoming their permanent parent. 18 months, Kelly's serving. 7 months, she filed false reports. 18 months, Emma and Noah have been with me, soon to be forever. Numbers that tell the story. Prison time earned. Family being made permanent. Adopting Emma and Noah next month. Everything Kelly's false CPS reports tried to prevent. Kelly wanted them removed. They're being adopted. By me. Permanently. Fair outcome. Just consequence. Appropriate result. Family of 3 soon. Despite Kelly's false abuse claims, that's enough. Stepmother was catfishing me online, pretending to be my birth mother. I discovered my stepmother had been catfishing me for 2 years, pretending to be my birth mother who I'd never met, gathering personal information to use against me. I'm 23 years old, raised by my father after my birth mother left when I was 2. I have no memories of her, never met her, and my father refused to discuss her beyond saying she wasn't ready to be a mother. My stepmother Jennifer married my dad when I was 8, and we've had strained relationship. She always seemed to resent me, though I never understood why. 3 years ago, someone reached out to me on Facebook claiming to be my birth mother. I've been looking for you for years. I'm sorry I left. I want to reconnect. The profile had no photos, generic name Sarah M., but knew specific details about my birth, hospital, date, my father's name. I was cautious but curious. We started messaging. Sarah said she couldn't video chat or meet in person yet because seeing me would be too emotional after all these years. She wanted to build relationships slowly through messages first. It seemed reasonable. Reconnecting after 21 years would be overwhelming. Over 2 years, I shared everything with Sarah. My hopes, fears, relationship problems, career struggles, insecurities about being abandoned as a child. She seemed like understanding mother figure I'd never had. I told her things I'd never told anyone, including details about my struggles with my stepmother, Jennifer. Jennifer has always resented me. She treats my dad's attention to me like competition. She makes comments about my weight, my career choices, everything. Sarah was sympathetic. That's terrible. You deserve better. Tell me more about these conflicts. I did. Detailed every argument, every hurt feeling, every moment of tension with Jennifer. Sarah always took my side, encouraged me to vent. Last month, Jennifer and I had major argument during family dinner. She brought up specific things I'd never told her. Private details about my job interview that went badly, my breakup with my ex-boyfriend, my anxiety about not being good enough. How do you know about that? I know everything about you. I've known for 2 years. She pulled out her phone, showed me the Facebook account. Sarah M. was Jennifer. My stepmother had been catfishing me for 2 years, pretending to be my birth mother. I stared at Jennifer's phone showing the Sarah M. Facebook account she'd been using to catfish me for 2 years. Every message I'd sent, pouring my heart out about feeling abandoned, every detail about my life, every complaint about Jennifer herself, all sent to Jennifer pretending to be my birth mother. You've been pretending to be my mom? For 2 years? Why? I wanted to know what you really thought about me, what you said behind my back. And I was right. You've been trashing me to everyone, even to your long-lost mother. I thought I was talking to my actual mother. You created a fake person to trick me into confiding in you. You were so desperate for your birth mother, you never questioned whether Sarah was real. Pathetic, honestly. I felt sick. 2 years of believing I'd reconnected with my birth mother. 2 years of sharing my deepest vulnerabilities, traumas from being abandoned, hopes that maybe my mom wanted me after all. It was my stepmother the entire time, cataloging everything I said. I reported to police immediately, showed them the fake Facebook account, messages spanning 2 years, and Jennifer's admission that she'd created the account to catfish me. Cybercrime laws vary by state, but what Jennifer did violated several. Identity fraud, pretending to be someone else, online harassment, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and potentially wiretapping laws regarding deceptive communication. Detective who took my report was disturbed. Your stepmother pretended to be your birth mother for 2 years? Gathered private information through deception? That's psychological abuse and fraud. I also reported to Facebook. The fake Sarah M. account was removed for impersonation and harassment. My father's reaction was complicated. Jennifer, you did what? You pretended to be your stepdaughter's birth mother? Catfished her for 2 years? Jennifer defended herself. I needed to know what she was saying about me. She acts sweet to my face, then talks behind my back. Because you created a fake person she thought was her mother. Of course she confided things she wouldn't say to you directly. She's been poisoning you against me. I had to protect myself. By emotionally abusing my daughter? By exploiting her abandonment issues? Their marriage didn't survive. Dad filed for divorce immediately. Criminal charges were filed against Jennifer for online harassment, identity fraud, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Civil lawsuit followed for emotional damages. Prosecutor emphasized psychological manipulation. Defendant created elaborate fake identity, pretended to be victim's birth mother for 2 years, and exploited victim's abandonment trauma to gather personal information. This is calculated emotional abuse. Evidence included Facebook messages spanning 2 years, Jennifer's admission she'd created the account, and my testimony about the emotional impact of believing I'd reconnected with my birth mother, only to discover it was my stepmother gathering ammunition against me. Therapist testified, victim has abandonment issues from being left by birth mother as a toddler. Defendant exploited this trauma by pretending to be the mother who abandoned her, creating false hope of reconnection, then revealing it was a deception. The psychological harm is severe. Jennifer showed no remorse. She talked badly about me. I had a right to know. Judge, you had no right to impersonate her birth mother and exploit her trauma for 2 years. Convicted on harassment and fraud charges, sentenced to 18 months in prison, 3 years probation, mandatory therapy, and permanent restraining order from me. Civil lawsuit resulted in $75,000 judgment for emotional distress. My father and I are rebuilding relationship without Jennifer. He's horrified by what she did. I brought someone into your life who abused you psychologically. I'm so sorry. You didn't know. She hid it for 2 years. I'm in therapy processing the betrayal. 2 years of believing I had connection with my birth mother, who I'd spent 21 years wondering about, hoping might want relationship, only to learn it was stepmother using my abandonment issues against me. Every vulnerable confession, every hope about reconciliation, every moment of believing my mother wanted to know me, all manipulated by Jennifer to gather information. I'm 23, dealing with the fact that my stepmother exploited my deepest trauma for 2 years. That the mother I thought wanted to reconnect was actually the stepmother who resented me using catfishing to collect ammunition. Jennifer's in prison. My father divorced her. The fake Sarah M. account is deleted. But I can't erase 2 years of believing I'd found my mother. Some people say I should have been more skeptical of online contact from supposed birth mother. Maybe they're right. But when you've spent your whole life wondering about the parent who left, wanting to believe they might want you, you're vulnerable to exactly what Jennifer did. Jennifer exploited that vulnerability, spent 2 years pretending to be the person I wanted most to hear from, gathered my secrets and insecurities while I poured my heart out thinking it was my mother listening. 2 years of catfishing, 18 months in prison, 23 years I've lived without my real mother, and 2 of those years believing I'd found her. Numbers that don't balance. Prison time doesn't equal the betrayal, but it's what happened. Moving forward. Real therapy, not fake mothers. Real relationships, not catfishing stepmothers. Jennifer's imprisoned. I'm healing. The fake reunion is over. The real trauma remains. That's where we are. Enough. Grandmother was secretly giving my service dog commands to make me fail certification. I discovered my grandmother had been secretly training my service dog to disobey me and respond to her commands instead, sabotaging my ability to pass certification and maintain independence. I'm 22 years old, have epilepsy with frequent seizures that require medical alert service dog. I've been training my dog Luna for 18 months through certified program. She's trained to detect seizures before they happen and alert me or get help. Service dog is essential for my independence and safety. My grandmother Ruth has always been overprotective, doesn't think I should live alone with my medical condition. You need family supervision. What if you have seizure when you're alone? You should move in with me where I can watch over you. Luna is trained to alert me and get help during seizures. She's my independence. Dogs aren't reliable medical equipment. You need human caregivers. Luna's training was going well. She was detecting seizures consistently, alerting appropriately, responding to my commands perfectly. Trainers said she'd be ready for certification testing soon. Certification would make her legally recognized service dog, allowing public access and validating my independence. 3 months ago, Luna started acting strange during training sessions. She'd respond to my commands inconsistently, seem distracted, occasionally ignore me completely. My trainer was concerned. Luna was performing perfectly, This sudden regression is unusual. Has anything changed in her environment? Nothing I could identify. But the problems got worse. Luna would randomly leave my side, wouldn't alert to seizures she'd previously detected, seemed to be listening for something I couldn't hear. During mock certification test, she failed completely, ignored every command, left me during simulated seizure, wandered away when she should have been getting help. My trainer was baffled. It's like she's been trained to ignore you. This isn't normal regression, this is active disobedience that contradicts 18 months of training. Last week, I had actual seizure at my grandmother's house during visit. Luna didn't alert me beforehand like she'd been trained. But the moment my grandmother said, "Luna, come!" my dog immediately left me mid-seizure and went to her. Even during medical emergency, Luna responded to my grandmother's command instead of doing her job. After I recovered, I confronted grandmother. She admitted she'd been secretly training Luna to respond to her commands and ignore mine whenever I visited. Ruth didn't see anything wrong with what she'd done. I'm training Luna to listen to me instead of you. When you fail certification and can't live independently, you'll move in with me, and Luna will be my dog who happens to help you. You've been sabotaging my service dog training? Luna ignores me now because you've been countermanding my commands? I'm teaching her who's really in charge. You're not capable of managing your own medical care. I need Luna to respond to me so I can control the situation when you have seizures. Luna's supposed to be my service dog. She's trained to alert me and help me during seizures. You've ruined 18 months of training. Good. Maybe now you'll accept that you can't live alone and need to move in with family supervision. I immediately reported to the Service Dog Training Organization. They were horrified. Your family member has been secretly giving your service dog conflicting commands, deliberately interfering with training. This is sabotage of medical equipment. They evaluated Luna, confirmed she'd been trained to respond to 2 different handlers with conflicting command structures. Me giving service dog commands, grandmother giving household pet commands. Luna was confused about her role and who to obey. Can she be retrained? Maybe, but it will take months to undo the damage. Your grandmother has essentially countermanded 18 months of medical alert training. I reported to police. Service dogs are protected under disability laws. Interfering with service dog is crime in my state. Provided evidence of grandmother's admission and trainer's testimony about sabotage. Charged with interference with service animal, disability discrimination, and reckless endangerment. Luna's failure to alert during my seizure was direct result of grandmother's sabotage. My parents were furious with Ruth. You sabotaged your granddaughter's service dog? Made her medical alert dog stop responding during seizures? She could have been seriously hurt. I was trying to make her see she needs family care, not a dog. By destroying the dog's ability to help her? That's not care, that's sabotage. Luna entered intensive retraining program to undo grandmother's interference. Trainers said it would take 6 additional months to retrain her to ignore Ruth's commands and respond only to me. Criminal case proceeded on charges of interference with service animal and disability-based sabotage. Evidence included training organization's testimony, documentation of Luna's sudden performance decline, video I'd captured of Ruth giving Luna commands that contradicted my service dog training, and medical records showing Luna failed to alert during seizure at Ruth's house. Prosecutor. Defendant systematically sabotaged her granddaughter's medical alert service dog by training the dog to ignore the handler and respond to defendant instead. This interference destroyed 18 months of training and put victim at medical risk. Service dog trainer testified. Luna was performing excellently until 3 months ago when she started showing signs of conflicting training. Investigation revealed family member had been giving different commands, teaching dog to ignore handler. This is severe interference that compromised the dog's medical alert function. Evidence showed Luna had failed to alert me during actual seizure because she'd been trained by Ruth to come to Ruth instead of helping me. Exactly what happened, during the seizure at Ruth's house. Disability rights experts testified. Service dogs are medical equipment for people with disabilities. Interfering with service dog is comparable to hiding someone's wheelchair or breaking their medical alert device. The defendant's actions put victim at serious medical risk. My testimony. Luna was my independence. She detected seizures and alerted me, allowing me to live safely alone. My grandmother systematically destroyed that training because she doesn't think I should be independent. Now Luna needs 6 more months of retraining to undo the damage. Ruth showed no remorse. She needs human supervision, not a dog. I was proving the dog can't be relied on. Judge, you proved nothing except your willingness to sabotage your granddaughter's medical equipment. Service dogs save lives. You compromised one for your own agenda. Convicted on all counts. Sentenced to 18 months in prison, 3 years probation, mandatory disability sensitivity training, restitution for Luna's retraining costs, and permanent restraining order. Cannot be within 100 feet of me or Luna. Luna's retraining took 8 months total. Finally passed certification. She's now legally recognized service dog, responding to my commands only, detecting seizures reliably again. Living independently with Luna as certified service dog. Everything grandmother tried to prevent by sabotaging Luna's training. Ruth's in prison. Luna and I are thriving. Her sabotage delayed certification by nearly a year but didn't stop it. I'm 22, living alone safely with service dog who actually responds to me now that grandmother can't interfere. Luna alerts to seizures, helps during episodes, allows me the independence Ruth tried to destroy. 18 months Ruth sabotaged Luna. 8 months to retrain. 18 months Ruth will serve in prison. Numbers that tell the story. Prison time earned. Independence finally achieved despite her interference. Luna and I working together properly now. No conflicting commands, no sabotage. Just medical alert dog doing her job. Everything Ruth tried to prevent. Everything we achieved anyway. Ruth imprisoned. Luna certified. Me independent. Fair outcome. Just consequence. Appropriate result. Living safely. Working with Luna. Proving Ruth wrong about needing constant supervision. That's enough. Mother was secretly calling my employer pretending to be me and quitting my jobs. I discovered my mother had been impersonating me on phone calls to my employers for 2 years, quitting jobs on my behalf to force me to move back home. I'm 25 years old, moved out at 23 after college to start career independence. My mother, Karen, has always been controlling, didn't want me to move out, believes I should live at home until marriage. She makes constant comments about how I'm struggling alone and should come home where family can help. Over 2 years, I've had 6 different jobs, all in my field. All seemed promising initially. Every single one ended the same way. I'd arrive at work to be told I'd called in my resignation the previous day. Each time, HR said you had called, given notice, and quit. But I never made those calls. First job. 3 months in, doing well, suddenly called into HR. We received your resignation call yesterday. We're disappointed you're leaving, but understand. I didn't call. I'm not resigning. Someone called from your phone number yesterday and gave 2 weeks' notice. Said you found another opportunity. My phone records showed no outgoing call to that number. Someone had spoofed my caller ID and impersonated me. I tried to explain, but they'd already processed my resignation. This happened 5 more times. Each job, after a few months when I was settling in, someone would call pretending to be me and quit. Always same pattern. Spoofed my number, knew enough details about me to sound convincing, gave polite notice citing personal reasons or other opportunities. Each time I'd lose job, my mother would say, "Maybe this is a sign you should move home. You keep losing jobs. Come back where you have support." I'm not losing jobs. Someone's making me lose them by impersonating me. That sounds paranoid. More likely you're not ready for workplace demands. Last week, I set up call recording on my phone and monitoring on my work number. Someone called my employer from spoofed number appearing as mine. Recorded conversation. Woman's voice giving professional notice, citing personal reasons, thanking them for opportunity. Voice was similar to mine, but not quite. My mother imitating my voice and speech patterns. Traced the actual origin number through carrier with police help. Came from my parents' landline. My mother had been calling my employers for 2 years, impersonating me, and systematically ending my employment. I confronted my mother with the evidence. Traced calls from parents' landline, voice analysis showing it was her impersonating me, and pattern of calls always happening when I was at work and couldn't defend myself. You've been calling my employers pretending to be me? Quitting my jobs? For 2 years? She didn't deny it. You shouldn't be working so far from home. You should live here and work locally where I can see you're safe. So you've been destroying my career? Making me lose 6 jobs by impersonating me and resigning on my behalf. I'm bringing you back where you belong. Every time you lose a job, you're closer to realizing you need to come home. I don't lose jobs. You make me lose them by committing identity theft and fraud. It's not fraud when I'm your mother. I'm doing what's best for you. I reported to police. Impersonating someone to their employer, causing them to lose their job, is identity theft and fraud. 6 instances over 2 years, all documented through phone records and employer testimonies. Detective assigned to case. Your mother has been calling your employers pretending to be you and resigning on your behalf. For 2 years? That's systematic identity fraud. Evidence overwhelming. Phone records showing calls from parents' landline to my 6 employers, voice recordings from latest call, employer statements confirming resignation calls they received, and my employment records showing pattern of sudden, unexpected resignations I never initiated. Current employer was horrified when I explained what happened. Your mother has been impersonating you to make you lose jobs? We'll note your file that resignation call was fraudulent. You're not resigning, you're victim of identity theft. My mother was charged with 6 counts of identity theft, fraud, and interference with employment. Each fraudulent resignation call was separate criminal count. My father was shocked. You've been sabotaging her career for 2 years? Making her lose jobs so she'd have to move home? That's insane. Parents' marriage strained. Dad seeing Karen's controlling behavior clearly for first time. I changed all my work contact information, set up verification protocols with employers. Any resignation must be in person with photo ID, and blocked my mother's access to my personal information. 6 jobs lost to her fraud. 2 years of career instability. All because she wanted me living at home under her control. Criminal prosecution moved forward with documented evidence of 6 separate instances of identity fraud over 2 years. Pattern showed deliberate, sustained campaign to destroy my employment and force dependence. Prosecutor. Defendant systematically impersonated her daughter to employers for 2 years, causing victim to lose 6 jobs. Each fraudulent resignation call was separate act of identity theft. Defendant's motive was forcing her adult daughter to move back home by destroying her career independence. Employers testified. We received calls from someone claiming to be the employee, giving resignation notice. Voice sounded like her, phone number appeared to be hers. We had no reason to doubt it was legitimate until learning it was her mother committing fraud. Phone company representatives testified. Calls originated from defendant's landline, but were made to appear as if coming from victim's mobile number. This required deliberate caller ID spoofing. Voice analysis experts. Recorded call shows speaker attempting to imitate victim's voice and speech patterns. Analysis confirms speaker is defendant, not victim. My testimony. For 2 years, I kept losing jobs mysteriously. Someone would call pretending to be me and quit. I'd arrive at work to find I'd been resigned. My mother destroyed my career to force me to move home and depend on her. Employment records showed pattern: stable performance, then sudden resignation call I didn't make, followed by termination. 6 times, each followed by my mother pressuring me to give up and move home. Karen's defense claimed she had concerns about my ability to handle employment. My client worried her daughter was overwhelmed by work demands. Prosecutor: defendant didn't express concerns. She committed identity fraud. She impersonated her daughter 6 times to end her employment. Text messages show defendant telling friends, once she loses enough jobs, she'll have to come home. This was deliberate sabotage. Judge: you systematically destroyed your daughter's career through identity theft because you wanted to control where she lived. That's not parental concern. That's criminal fraud. Convicted on 6 counts of identity theft and fraud, sentenced to 3 years in prison, 4 years probation, restitution for lost wages, mandatory family therapy upon release, and restraining order prohibiting contact unless I initiate it. I'm still at current job, been there 8 months, longest employment since mother's sabotage began. Career finally stabilizing now that she can't impersonate me and quit on my behalf. My mother's in prison. My career is rebuilding. Living independently despite her 2-year campaign to force me home through employment fraud. I'm 25, finally maintaining stable employment without my mother calling employers, pretending to be me, and resigning. Everything she tried to prevent, my career independence, is happening now without her interference. 3 years she's serving. 2 years she sabotaged me. 6 jobs she destroyed by impersonating me. Numbers that tell the story. Prison time earned. Career finally stable. Working successfully without fraudulent resignation calls. Living independently without her control. Everything she tried to destroy. Everything I'm rebuilding. Mother imprisoned. Me employed. Fair consequence for identity fraud disguised as parental concern. Career advancing. Independence maintained. Success despite her sabotage. That's enough. Sister secretly recorded me in therapy and posted it online to humiliate me. I discovered my younger sister had been secretly recording my therapy sessions for 6 months and posting edited clips online to humiliate me and destroy my social reputation. I'm 22 years old, in therapy for anxiety and past trauma. My sister Cassidy is 19, lives at home while attending community college, and has always been competitive with me, needing to be the center of attention, jealous when I achieve things she hasn't. I started therapy last year after struggling with anxiety attacks and unresolved childhood issues. My therapist's office is in a building near our parents' house, and Cassidy would sometimes give me rides to appointments when my car was being repaired or I had other transportation issues. 6 months ago, Cassidy started offering to drive me to therapy regularly. I'm home anyway, might as well help out. I appreciated it. She'd drop me off, I'd have my session, she'd pick me up after. Seemed like normal sister support. 3 months ago, I noticed people treating me differently. Friends making odd comments, co-workers seeming uncomfortable around me, people at my gym staring and whispering. When I'd ask what was wrong, they'd get awkward and change the subject. Then a classmate from college messaged me, "I don't know if you're aware, but there are videos of you online. Therapy session recordings. They're all over TikTok and Instagram. Millions of views." My stomach dropped. I searched my name and found dozens of short video clips. Me crying in therapy, discussing trauma, talking about my deepest insecurities, describing embarrassing personal experiences. All recorded secretly and posted publicly with mocking captions. One video, me crying about childhood bullying, captioned, "When you're 22 and still crying about middle school." 2.3 million views. Another, me discussing body image issues, captioned, "Imagine being this insecure, LMAO." 1.8 million views. Another, me talking about fear of abandonment, captioned, "Emotional damage speedrun." 4.1 million views. dozens of my most vulnerable therapy moments, edited to make me look pathetic and ridiculous, viewed by millions of strangers who were mocking me in the comments. The account posting them was anonymous, but the angle of the recordings showed they'd been filmed through the therapy office window from outside. Cassidy had been parking outside during my sessions, recording through the window with her phone, then editing and posting clips for entertainment. I confronted Cassidy with the videos. She didn't deny it. "You've been recording my therapy sessions? Through the window? Posting them online for millions of people to mock?" She shrugged. "They're funny. People love them. I have 400,000 followers now. These are my private therapy sessions, my trauma. You're humiliating me for clout?" "You're so dramatic. It's just therapy. Everyone has problems. I'm just sharing content." "It's illegal. It's a massive privacy violation. You're destroying my reputation." "Whatever. People think you're hilarious. Should thank me for making you viral." I reported to police immediately, showed them the videos, the evidence they were filmed through my therapist's window, and proof Cassidy had posted them from anonymous account traced to her devices. Charges filed: illegal recording, invasion of privacy, harassment, violating healthcare privacy laws, therapy is protected, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. I reported to TikTok, Instagram, and other platforms. Accounts were suspended, videos removed, but the damage was done. Millions had already seen my most vulnerable moments. My therapist was horrified. "Your sessions were recorded and posted online? That's violation of therapeutic confidentiality and my office security. I'm so sorry this happened." Therapy office installed better window coverings and reported the security breach. My therapist provided documentation about the violation of therapeutic privacy for my legal case. My parents were divided. Mom was furious at Cassidy. "You recorded your sister's private therapy? Posted it for the world to mock? How could you do this?" Dad tried to minimize. "Cassidy made a mistake. Social media generation doesn't understand privacy. This isn't worth ruining her life over." She violated my medical privacy for 6 months, posted my trauma for entertainment, got millions of views mocking my therapy sessions. That's not a mistake. That's calculated cruelty. Friends who'd seen the videos were supportive, but some relationships felt permanently changed. They'd seen me at my most vulnerable without my consent, and the dynamic was different. My employer saw the videos. Co-workers had been sharing them. HR called me in. "We're aware personal videos of you have circulated online. Want to assure you this doesn't affect your employment. Very sorry you're dealing with this." But workplace relationships were strained. People had seen me crying about trauma and insecurities, then read millions of mocking comments. Hard to maintain professional boundaries after that exposure. Criminal case moved forward. Prosecutor emphasized severity. Defendant secretly recorded her sister's therapy sessions for 6 months, filmed through window of medical office, then posted edited clips online that received millions of views. Victims' most vulnerable moments were broadcast for entertainment and mockery. This is serious invasion of privacy and violation of healthcare confidentiality. Evidence was overwhelming. Videos on Cassidy's devices, anonymous accounts traced to her IP address, metadata showing recordings were made from parking lot outside therapy office during my appointment times, and her own admission when I confronted her. Cassidy pled guilty to avoid trial, received 18 months in jail, 3 years probation, mandatory mental health treatment, community service, and permanent restraining order from me. Also required to post public apology video explaining what she'd done and that I hadn't consented to recordings. Civil lawsuit followed. Sued Cassidy for invasion of privacy and emotional distress. Won $150,000 judgment. She'll be paying it off for years. Digital forensics experts helped identify and remove as many videos as possible across platforms, but some still circulate. Screenshots and re-uploads exist. Can't fully erase millions of views. I changed therapists. Couldn't continue in same office after that violation. New therapist specializes in trauma from privacy violations and public humiliation. Online harassment continued for months. People who'd seen the videos would recognize me, make comments, quote things I'd said in therapy. Strangers felt entitled to discuss my trauma because Cassidy had made it public entertainment. I eventually moved to different city. Fresh start where people didn't recognize me as therapy girl from viral videos. My relationship with Cassidy is permanently destroyed. She showed no remorse until sentencing, then suddenly apologized, clearly performative for the judge. My parents still expect me to eventually forgive her. She's your sister. She made a terrible mistake. Family should forgive. She violated my medical privacy for 6 months, posted my trauma for millions to mock, got famous from my humiliation. That's not a mistake. That's sustained cruelty. Some family members think I'm overreacting. It was just therapy videos. Not like she posted nudes or something actually damaging. My therapy sessions are deeply personal. She exposed my trauma, insecurities, and mental health struggles to millions of strangers without consent. That's profoundly damaging. I'm 22, rebuilding life in new city after my sister violated my privacy and destroyed my reputation for TikTok followers. Starting over where nobody knows me as that girl from the therapy videos. Cassidy got 18 months jail and $150,000 judgment. I got trauma, violated privacy, and millions of strangers who watched me cry about childhood bullying. Not equivalent. But it's what happened. Moving forward. New city, new therapist, new boundaries. No family members driving me to appointments anymore. That's enough. Siblings created fake dating profile using my photos to humiliate me online. I discovered my younger siblings had created fake dating profiles using my photos and personal information, then intentionally matched with my coworkers and friends to embarrass me. I'm 24 years old, work at tech company, generally private person who isn't active on dating apps. My siblings, twin brothers age 19, think I'm too serious and need to loosen up. They constantly make jokes about my social life, tease me about not dating much, and seem to resent that I'm more professionally successful than they are. 2 months ago, coworkers started making weird comments. Saw your profile on Tinder last night. Didn't know you were on there. I'd tell them I wasn't on dating apps. They'd insist they'd seen me. My boss pulled me aside. Several people have mentioned seeing you on dating platforms with some concerning content. Just want you aware it's being discussed. I was confused and embarrassed. I wasn't on any dating apps. Why were people seeing profiles with my information? Then a friend sent me screenshots. Someone had created Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge profiles using my photos, pictures from my social media and family photos. The profiles had my real name, my workplace, and listed interests that were deliberately embarrassing. Looking for sugar daddy, interested in polyamory, seeking married men for discreet encounters. Dozens of my coworkers, friends, and acquaintances had been matched with these fake profiles. The person running them would send inappropriate messages, make sexual suggestions, then unmatch before anyone could screenshot the full conversations. But enough people had seen the profiles and received messages that rumors were spreading about me. Someone was systematically embarrassing me by creating fake dating profiles and matching with everyone I knew professionally and personally. I checked the profile details carefully. Some photos were from my Instagram, public account, but several were from family events, photos I'd never posted online. Only family members would have access to those pictures. I confronted my twin brothers. Their reaction, trying not to laugh, confirmed everything. Did you create fake dating profiles using my photos? It was just a prank. We thought it'd be funny if your boring coworkers saw you on dating apps. You matched me with my boss? With dozens of people I work with? sent inappropriate messages using my name and photos. My brothers didn't understand why I was upset. It's just online stuff, not real. My coworkers think I'm soliciting married men and looking for sugar daddies. My professional reputation is destroyed because you created fake profiles with my real information. You're overreacting. It's a joke. My boss pulled me aside about concerning content associated with my name. That's not a joke. That's defamation. I reported to the dating platforms immediately, provided proof the profiles were fake. I'd never created accounts on those apps. The photos were used without permission, and the content was defamatory. Platforms removed the fake profiles and provided IP addresses and device information used to create them, all traced to my brother's phones and computers. I also reported to police. Creating fake online profiles with someone's photos and information, especially with defamatory content, violates identity theft and cyber harassment laws. Evidence was clear. Profiles created from my brother's devices, using photos they'd taken or had access to through family, with deliberately embarrassing content designed to harm my reputation. Messages sent to people from my workplace and social circle with sexual content under my name. Detective assigned to my case. Your brothers created fake dating profiles to humiliate you professionally? That's identity theft, defamation, and cyber harassment. My brothers were arrested. Initially thought it was funny until they were actually charged with crimes. We were just messing around. We didn't think you'd call the cops on your own brothers. You didn't think destroying my professional reputation and sexually harassing my coworkers using my identity would have consequences. My parents were divided. Mom was furious at the twins. You created fake sexual profiles using your sister's information? Matched her with her boss? What were you thinking? Dad tried to minimize. They're 19. Stupid prank. Don't ruin their lives over this. They ruined my professional reputation. My coworkers think I'm soliciting them for affairs. My boss questioned me about inappropriate online behavior. That's not a prank. I had to send emails to coworkers and my boss explaining the profiles were fake, created by family members without my knowledge, and that I'd reported to police. HR documented the situation, confirmed I wasn't responsible for the content, but workplace relationships were permanently affected. Hard to maintain professional credibility after dozens of colleagues saw fake profiles of you seeking sugar daddies. Criminal trial proceeded on identity theft, cyber harassment, and defamation charges. Evidence included fake profiles with my photos and information, IP logs showing creation from my brother's devices, message logs showing inappropriate content sent to people from my professional network, and testimony from coworkers who'd received the messages. Prosecutor. Defendants created fake dating profiles using their sister's name, photos, and workplace information. They intentionally matched with her coworkers and sent sexually explicit messages under her identity. Goal was humiliating her professionally and socially. Dating platform representatives testified. Accounts were created using victims' photos without authorization. Messages sent from accounts violated our terms of service. Device information traced accounts to defendants. Coworkers testified about receiving matches and messages. I matched with profile I thought was my colleague. The messages were sexually inappropriate. I was uncomfortable and confused about why coworker would contact me this way. Learning it was fake profile created by her brothers, that's disturbing. My testimony. My brothers destroyed my professional reputation by creating fake sexual profiles using my information. My boss questioned me. My coworkers saw content that made me look unprofessional. The rumors and damage to my reputation at work are ongoing. Digital evidence showed twins had spent weeks creating and managing the fake profiles, deliberately matching with people from my LinkedIn connections, sending progressively inappropriate messages designed to embarrass me maximally. My brother's defense. It was a prank. We didn't mean actual harm. Prosecutor. You created fake sexual profiles using your sister's identity. You systematically matched her with professional contacts. You sent harassing messages. You documented your actions and laughed about it in text to each other. This was calculated harassment. Judge: this wasn't a prank. This was deliberate destruction of your sister's professional reputation through identity theft and sexual harassment of her colleagues under her name. Convicted on all counts. Each brother sentenced to 18 months in prison, 3 years probation, mandatory technology restrictions, restitution for my therapy costs and legal fees, and permanent restraining orders. I eventually changed jobs, couldn't rebuild professional reputation at company where dozens of people had seen fake sexual profiles with my name. Fresh start at new company where nobody knows about the fake dating profiles. My brothers are in prison. My professional reputation at previous job was destroyed. Changed careers and cities to escape the damage they caused. I'm 24, rebuilding life after my 19-year-old brothers created fake sexual dating profiles using my identity and systematically humiliated me with my professional network. New job, new city, new start. 18 months they're each serving. 2 months they ran the fake profiles. 24 years I've lived. Had to restart career because they thought reputation destruction was funny. Numbers that tell the story. Prison time they earned. Career change I was forced into. Working at new company now. Nobody here knows about fake dating profiles. Fresh professional reputation untainted by my brother's harassment campaign. Everything they destroyed. Everything I'm rebuilding. Brothers imprisoned. Me relocated and restarted. Fair consequence for identity theft disguised as prank. New job, new city, new professional network that never saw fake sexual profiles with my name. That's where I am now. Enough. Cousin sabotaged my military deployment orders to keep me from enlisting. I discovered my cousin had been intercepting and altering my military enlistment paperwork for 8 months to prevent me from deploying and fulfilling my service commitment. I'm 21 years old, enlisted in the Army right after high school at 18. Completed basic training and advanced training, was assigned to my unit waiting for deployment orders. My cousin Derek is 26. Tried to enlist at 19 but was disqualified for medical reasons. He's been bitter about it ever since, makes constant comments about how military service is pointless and I'm wasting my life. For 8 months, I kept being told my deployment orders were delayed. My unit deployed without me. I was left behind supposedly due to administrative errors with my paperwork. My command kept saying orders were submitted but never received by higher headquarters. I'd verify paperwork was correct, submit it, then somehow it would disappear or come back rejected for errors I never made. My platoon sergeant was frustrated. Your paperwork keeps getting rejected. Names misspelled, wrong dates, missing signatures. You need to be more careful. I double-check everything before submitting. I don't understand how these errors keep appearing. It happened 5 times, paperwork submitted correctly, then returned with errors that prevented deployment. My entire unit deployed to overseas assignment while I remained stateside because my orders kept being rejected for administrative issues. Missing deployment affected my career progression, my relationship with my unit who thought I was incompetent, and my ability to fulfill my service commitment. I was stuck in administrative limbo while everyone else moved forward with their military careers. 2 weeks ago, I was at Derek's apartment and used his laptop to check email while he was in another room. Saw a folder labeled Military Docs in his downloads. Opened it. Found copies of all my deployment paperwork with tracked changes showing deliberate alterations Derek had made. He'd been intercepting my paperwork before it reached command, making subtle errors, wrong birth dates, misspelled names, incorrect unit assignments, then submitting the sabotaged versions so they'd be rejected. Derek had been systematically sabotaging my deployment orders for 8 months because he's bitter he couldn't serve and didn't want me to either. I took screenshots of everything on Derek's laptop, all my military paperwork with his tracked edits, dates showing when he'd altered documents, and his notes about which errors to introduce to ensure rejection without being obvious enough to warrant investigation. Confronted him immediately. "You've been sabotaging my deployment orders? Intercepting my paperwork and introducing errors? You don't deserve to deploy when I couldn't serve. If I can't be in the military, why should you get to? Because I enlisted legally and you were medically disqualified. That's not my fault. You rubbing your service in my face every day is my motivation. I made sure you'd fail just like I did. I didn't fail. You sabotaged me. My entire unit deployed without me because you kept corrupting my paperwork. Good. Now you know how it feels to be left behind. I reported to my chain of command immediately with all evidence. My command was furious. Military paperwork sabotage is serious, especially when it affects deployment readiness. Your cousin has been intercepting and altering your deployment orders? For 8 months? Yes, sir. He has access because I used his address temporarily during a move last year, and he still receives some of my mail. He's been opening military correspondence, altering documents, and resubmitting corrupted versions. Investigation confirmed. Derek had intercepted physical mail and somehow accessed my military email. I'd logged in from his computer once. He'd saved my password. He'd been methodically corrupting every deployment-related document to ensure I'd remain stateside. Military Criminal Investigation Command, CID, took over. Derek was charged with theft of government property, military documents, forgery, altering official documents, obstruction of military operations, and wire fraud, email interception. Federal charges because interfering with military deployment orders is federal crime. FBI involved due to cyber access to military systems. Derek was arrested. Initially cocky. They can't prove anything. Showed him screenshots from his own laptop with all the tracked changes and his notes. His attitude changed fast. My command issued statement clearing me. Service members' deployment delays were result of criminal sabotage by family member, not service members' incompetence. All administrative flags removed from record. Finally received clean deployment orders. Deploying with next rotation in 2 months. 8 months late because of Derek's sabotage, but career back on track. Federal prosecution proceeded on multiple charges. Evidence was overwhelming. Derek's laptop contained all my military documents with his tracked edits, his notes about sabotage strategy, and logs showing he'd accessed my military email from his devices. Prosecutor. Defendant systematically intercepted and corrupted victim's military deployment orders for 8 months. He altered official military documents to prevent victim from deploying with his unit. This is federal crime affecting military readiness. Military investigators testified. Defendant accessed military email systems without authorization, intercepted classified information, and altered deployment orders. These actions compromised unit readiness and affected military operations. Digital forensics showed Derek had accessed my email 47 times over 8 months, intercepting every deployment-related communication, altering documents, and resubmitting corrupted versions designed to be rejected. My testimony. I couldn't understand why my deployment orders kept being rejected. My command thought I was incompetent. My unit deployed without me. My career was stalled. Learning my cousin was sabotaging everything because he's bitter about his own medical disqualification, it explained everything. Command testimony. We questioned this soldier's competence repeatedly. The errors in his paperwork seemed like carelessness. Learning they were deliberate sabotage by family member, we owe him an apology. Derek's defense claimed he was trying to protect me from deployment. My client was concerned about his cousin's safety in combat zone. Prosecutor destroyed this. Defendant's own notes show motive was jealousy and resentment, not concern. He wrote, "If I can't serve, neither should he." This was sabotage, not protection. Judge. You interfered with military operations, accessed classified systems, and sabotaged your cousin's military career because of your own bitterness. That's federal crime with serious consequences. Convicted on all federal charges, sentenced to 5 years in federal prison, 3 years supervised release, restitution for military costs, and permanent prohibition from accessing military facilities or systems. I deployed with next rotation. Currently overseas fulfilling my service commitment. 8 months late because of Derek's sabotage, but here now. Unit welcomed me once command cleared my record and explained the criminal interference. Career back on track. Deployment successful. Relationships with command and unit restored after they understood I wasn't incompetent. I was being sabotaged. Derek's in federal prison. I'm deployed. Everything he tried to prevent is happening anyway. Some family think I was harsh. He's family. Did you have to press federal charges? He committed federal crimes for 8 months, interfered with military operations, sabotaged my career because he's bitter about his own disqualification. Yes, I had to report it. Others support completely. He sabotaged military deployment orders. That's serious federal crime. You did the right thing. I'm 21, deployed overseas, serving my country despite my cousin spending 8 months sabotaging my orders. Finally, where I should have been 8 months ago. 5 years Derek's serving. 8 months he sabotaged me. 3 years since I enlisted, most of it stalled by his interference. Numbers that tell the story. Prison time earned, deployment finally achieved. Serving now, fulfilling commitment, building military career Derek tried to destroy. Everything he sabotaged. Everything happening anyway. Derek imprisoned, me deployed. Fair consequence for federal obstruction. Serving overseas, proving his sabotage couldn't stop me permanently. That's enough. Aunt secretly convinced my college I had died to steal my scholarship. I discovered my aunt had reported me dead to my university, causing my full-ride scholarship to be terminated and transferred to her daughter who was on the wait list. I'm 20 years old, sophomore at prestigious university on full academic scholarship covering tuition, housing, and expenses. My cousin Marina is also 20, was waitlisted for the same scholarship program, ended up attending different school. My Aunt Patricia has always been competitive about Marina versus me, constantly comparing our achievements, making snide comments when I succeeded at something Marina didn't. Last semester, I studied abroad in Argentina for 4 months. Limited phone access in rural area where I was doing research, spotty internet, mostly communicated through weekly emails to family, letting them know I was safe. Normal for study abroad in remote location. I came back to US last month excited to return to campus for spring semester. Went to move into my dorm. My key card didn't work. Went to student services confused. I'm here to move into my dorm for spring semester. My key card isn't working. The administrator looked at her computer confused. You're listed as deceased in our system. Your scholarship was terminated last semester due to death of recipient. What? I'm not dead. I'm standing right here. She showed me the records. Someone had reported to the university that I died in a car accident in Argentina. Submitted death certificate, obituary, everything. The university had terminated my scholarship, held memorial service, and transferred my full-ride scholarship to the next person on the wait list, Marina. My Aunt Patricia had fabricated my death while I was abroad with limited communication, stolen my scholarship for her daughter, and I came back from study abroad to find I'd been declared dead and replaced. I immediately contacted the registrar with proof I was alive, passport, Argentine visa stamps, research program completion certificate. They were shocked. Someone submitted fraudulent death certificate with your name. We held memorial service for you. Your scholarship was reassigned based on false information. Investigation revealed Patricia had forged Argentine death certificate, created fake obituary, and submitted everything to the university claiming I died in traffic accident while abroad. She'd known I had limited communication from rural Argentina and used that window to fake my death and secure my scholarship for Marina. University administration was horrified. Your aunt reported you dead with forged documents to steal your scholarship for her daughter? This is unprecedented fraud. They pulled all documentation Patricia had submitted: fake Argentine death certificate with my name, fabricated obituary, forged communications supposedly from Argentine authorities confirming my death. All created by Patricia while I was abroad with limited contact. Did your cousin know about this? That's what I needed to find out. I contacted Marina. Her reaction told me everything. Genuine shock and horror. My mom told me you died in Argentina. I was devastated. The university called saying I'd been awarded your scholarship posthumously in your honor. I thought I was continuing your legacy. Your mother fabricated my death. I've been alive the entire time. Marina broke down. She lied to everyone? Made me think you were dead? Made me take your scholarship thinking you died? Marina hadn't been part of the fraud. Patricia had fooled her too, made her believe she was honoring deceased cousin by accepting scholarship that couldn't go to waste. University immediately reinstated my scholarship, expelled Marina, even though she'd been deceived, and reported Patricia to police for fraud, forgery, and identity theft. Patricia was arrested. Charges: fraud against educational institution, forgery of death certificate, identity theft, theft by deception, obtaining scholarship through false pretenses. When confronted, Patricia was defensive. Marina deserved that scholarship. You already had it. I was just redistributing to someone who needed it more. By faking my death? By forging documents? By making my cousin think I was dead? You were out of communication for months. It was the perfect opportunity. Nobody could verify whether you were alive or dead. She'd literally planned to fake my death during study abroad window, when I couldn't easily prove I was alive. Detective handling my case. Defendant created elaborate fraud, forged death certificate, fake obituary, communications from fake authorities. She exploited victim's limited communication while abroad to declare victim dead and redirect scholarship benefits to her daughter. Marina was traumatized. I mourned you. I cried at the memorial service the university held. I accepted the scholarship thinking I was honoring your memory. And you were alive the whole time while my mother lied to everyone. Criminal trial proceeded with overwhelming evidence of Patricia's fraud. Forged death certificate, fake obituary, university records showing fraudulent report of my death, timeline showing report was made while I was in Argentina with limited communication. Prosecutor. Defendant waited until her niece was abroad with spotty communication, then reported her dead to the university with forged documents. Goal was terminating the niece's scholarship so it would transfer to defendant's daughter. Expert testimony confirmed death certificate was forgery. Wrong formats for Argentine documents, fake official stamps, non-existent authorities listed. Patricia had created everything using templates found online. University administrators testified. We received what appeared to be legitimate death notification. We held memorial service, honored the deceased student, and transferred scholarship to next recipient per hour. Policies. Learning the death was fabricated and student was alive, this has never happened in our institution's history. My testimony. I was studying abroad in rural Argentina with limited phone and internet. My aunt knew I couldn't easily prove I was alive during those months. She used that window to declare me dead and steal my scholarship for her daughter. Marina testified, my mother told me my cousin died. I mourned her. When I received the scholarship, I thought I was honoring her memory. Learning my mother lied and my cousin was alive, I can't describe the betrayal. Patricia showed no remorse. Marina needed that scholarship. My niece already had it. I just redirected resources to someone more deserving. Judge, you faked your niece's death. You forged legal documents. You defrauded an educational institution. You caused immeasurable emotional harm. That's not resource redistribution. That's criminal fraud. Convicted on all counts. sentenced to 3 years in prison, 5 years probation, restitution to university for costs of fraudulent scholarship distribution, and permanent restraining order from me. Marina and I are rebuilding our relationship. She withdrew from the university entirely, too traumatic to stay where she'd attended, thinking she was replacing her dead cousin. She's starting over at different school on legitimate scholarship she earned without fraud. My scholarship was fully reinstated. University apologized for holding memorial service for living student and transferring scholarship based on fraudulent death report. I'm back on campus completing my degree. Aunt Patricia is in prison. Extended family is divided. Some think she went too far, others defend her actions as trying to help her daughter. She faked your death and forged documents. That's not helping, that's fraud. I'm 20 years old, returned from study abroad to discover I'd been declared dead, replaced, and memorialized. My aunt had literally killed me on paper to give her daughter my scholarship. 3 years Patricia's serving. 4 months I was abroad when she reported me dead. 20 years I've been alive despite her forged death certificate. Marina and I survived our mother's, aunt's, betrayal. Both continuing education, me with reinstated scholarship, her with legitimately earned one elsewhere. Patricia wanted Marina to have my scholarship, got prison instead. I wanted to finish my degree, despite being temporarily dead according to fraudulent documents. Fair outcome, just consequence, appropriate result. Living despite fake death certificate, studying despite stolen scholarship, thriving despite aunt's fraud. Everything she tried to take, everything I kept. Patricia imprisoned, me alive and enrolled. Marina healing from thinking I was dead. That's where we are. Enough. Stepfather had been feeding my emotional support animal food it was allergic to. I discovered my stepfather had been deliberately feeding my emotional support cat food containing ingredients it was severely allergic to, making my cat sick to prove I couldn't handle independent living. I'm 23 years old, have severe anxiety and depression, prescribed emotional support animal by my therapist. My cat Oliver has been essential for my mental health. His presence calms panic attacks, gives me routine and purpose, helps me function daily. Oliver has documented food allergies to chicken and fish, causes severe digestive issues, vomiting, lethargy. He's on strict prescription diet of hypoallergenic food. My stepfather Greg moved in with my mom 2 years ago. He thinks emotional support animals are made up, and I use my mental health as excuse to be lazy. Constantly makes comments. You're 23, should be independent, not living at home with a cat because you're anxious. Oliver helps me manage clinical conditions. He's prescribed medical support. It's a cat. You're using it as crutch instead of growing up. 6 months ago, Oliver started having mysterious health episodes. Vomiting, diarrhea, extreme lethargy, symptoms consistent with allergic reactions despite eating only his prescription food. Vet was confused. If you're feeding him only the hypoallergenic diet, he shouldn't be having these reactions. I am. I'm so careful about what he eats. Something in his environment is triggering allergies. We need to figure out what. Episodes happened every week or two. Oliver would be sick for days. I'd miss work caring for him. My anxiety would spike watching him suffer. Greg would comment, "Can't even keep your cat healthy. How are you going to live on your own if you can't manage a pet?" Last week, I installed camera in the kitchen because I couldn't understand how Oliver was getting exposed to allergens. Footage showed Greg feeding Oliver chicken treats when I wasn't home, deliberately giving my cat the food he's severely allergic to. Confronted Greg with the video evidence. He admitted it immediately. "You've been feeding Oliver chicken? He's allergic. That's why he keeps getting sick." "I know. I'm proving you can't handle responsibility. If you can't even keep a cat healthy, you shouldn't be living independently. By deliberately poisoning my prescribed emotional support animal? You've been making him sick on purpose?" Greg justified his actions. "You use that cat as excuse to avoid growing up. I'm showing your mother that you can't handle adult responsibilities. When the cat dies from natural causes, you'll have to face reality. Oliver's not dying from natural causes. You're killing him by feeding him allergens. That's animal abuse and interference with prescribed medical treatment. It's a cat. It's not real medical equipment. Emotional support animals are legally recognized. Oliver is prescribed by my therapist. You've been sabotaging my mental health treatment by harming him. I moved out immediately with Oliver. Stayed with friend while documenting everything and filing reports. Reported to police. Animal cruelty, deliberately feeding animal known allergens. Interference with medical treatment. ESA is part of my mental health care. And disability harassment, targeting my prescribed accommodation. Evidence. Video of Greg feeding Oliver chicken treats. Vet records documenting allergies and repeated episodes. My therapist's prescription for emotional support animal, and Greg's admission on recording that he was deliberately making Oliver sick to prove I couldn't live independently. Police took it seriously. He's been intentionally poisoning your prescribed emotional support animal? That's animal cruelty and disability-based harassment. My mother was in denial. Greg wouldn't hurt Oliver. He was probably just giving treats without realizing. He admitted on camera he knows Oliver's allergic and was doing it deliberately to make him sick. He said he was trying to kill Oliver to force me to face reality. Mom had to choose. Kicked Greg out after seeing the evidence. She was horrified. I brought someone into our home who was torturing your ESA? I'm so sorry. Vet documented 6 months of allergic reactions that aligned perfectly with when Greg moved in and had access to Oliver. Medical records showed clear pattern of deliberate exposure. My therapist provided statement. Patient requires emotional support animal for anxiety and depression management. Deliberately harming the animal is interference with patient's mental health treatment and caused significant psychological harm. Oliver's health improved immediately once Greg no longer had access to him. No more mystery allergic reactions. Back to his healthy, calm self, which in turn helped my mental health stabilize. Greg was charged with animal cruelty, interference with medical treatment, and disability harassment. Civil lawsuit followed for emotional distress and veterinary costs. Criminal trial proceeded with video evidence showing Greg deliberately feeding Oliver allergens, vet testimony about repeated allergic reactions during 6-month period, and Greg's own admission he was trying to make the cat sick or dead. Prosecutor. Defendant systematically fed victims emotional support animal ingredients he knew would cause severe allergic reactions. He did this deliberately to harm the animal and interfere with victims' mental health treatment. This is animal cruelty and disability-based harassment. Veterinarian testified. Patient had documented chicken and fish allergies. Owner was feeding appropriate diet. For 6 months, patient had repeated allergic episodes. Timeline correlates exactly with defendant's access to the animal. Video shows defendant feeding chicken treats, the allergen causing the reactions. Evidence showed Oliver had 14 separate allergic episodes over 6 months, each requiring vet visits, medication, and recovery time. Medical costs exceeded $8,000. Each episode also triggered my anxiety and depression, undermining the purpose of having emotional support animal. Therapist testified. Emotional support animals are prescribed mental health interventions. Defendant deliberately harmed patient's ESA, causing both direct harm to the animal and indirect harm to patient's mental health. Patient's anxiety spiked with each episode, panic attacks increased, depression worsened. My testimony. Oliver is prescribed for my mental health conditions. Greg systematically poisoned him to prove I couldn't live independently. He wanted Oliver to die, so I'd lose my emotional support and have to stay dependent on my mother. Animal welfare advocates testified. Deliberately feeding animal known allergens is severe cruelty. Defendant knew the harm he was causing and continued for 6 months with goal of killing or permanently harming the animal. Greg's defense claimed he forgot about allergies. My client didn't remember the cat's dietary restrictions. Prosecutor. Video recording shows defendant stating, "I know he's allergic, that's why I'm doing it." He explicitly admitted deliberate harm. His own words contradict the claim of forgetfulness. Judge. You deliberately poisoned your stepdaughter's emotional support animal for 6 months to undermine her independence and mental health treatment. That's animal cruelty and disability harassment. Convicted on all charges. Sentenced to 2 years in prison, 3 years probation, $8,000 restitution for vet bills, prohibition from owning animals, and permanent restraining order from me and Oliver. I'm living independently now, moved into my own apartment with Oliver. He's completely healthy, no more allergic reactions, thriving. My mental health improved once Greg was removed from our lives. Oliver and I are both safe from Greg's sabotage. Everything he tried to prevent, my independent living, is happening now without his interference. Greg wanted to kill Oliver to force me to stay dependent. Failed completely. Both of us are thriving without him. I'm 23, living independently with healthy emotional support cat, managing my mental health successfully. Everything Greg claimed I couldn't do. 2 years Greg serving, 6 months he poisoned Oliver, $8,000 in vet bills he caused. Numbers that tell the story. Prison time earned. Independence achieved. Living alone successfully. Oliver healthy. Mental health managed with proper ESA support. Everything Greg tried to destroy. Everything thriving anyway. Greg imprisoned. Oliver healthy. Me independent. Fair consequence for animal cruelty disguised as teaching responsibility. Independent living. Healthy cat. Stable mental health. That's enough. Brother secretly switched my insulin with saline to induce diabetic emergencies. I discovered my brother had been replacing my insulin with saline solution for 4 months to cause diabetic emergencies that would make me lose my driver's license and independence. I'm 24 years old, type 1 diabetic since childhood. I manage my condition carefully with insulin pump and continuous glucose monitor. My brother Austin is 27, lives in our parents' basement, no job, spends most time gaming. He's resentful I have career, apartment, independence while he's stuck at home. 4 months ago, my diabetes control mysteriously deteriorated. Blood sugar readings dangerously high despite taking insulin. My endocrinologist was baffled. Your pump shows you're delivering insulin on schedule. Your compliance is perfect, but your blood sugar isn't responding. I don't understand. I'm doing everything right. Let's try increasing your dosages. I did. Still, blood sugar remained dangerously high. I started having symptoms of diabetic ketoacidosis, nausea, confusion, rapid breathing, had to go to ER twice for severe hyperglycemia despite taking insulin. DMV sent notice. Multiple episodes of severe hyperglycemia and ER visits raised concerns about my ability to drive safely. Until diabetes is under control, driver's license suspended pending medical clearance. Losing my license meant losing independence. Couldn't drive to work, had to rely on others for transportation. Felt like child again depending on family. Austin offered to drive me places. I'm home anyway. Might as well help since you can't drive yourself. He seemed almost happy about my struggles. Maybe this is a sign you should move back home where family can help manage your diabetes. I've managed it successfully for years. Something's wrong, but I don't know what. Last week I was refilling my insulin reservoir when I noticed the solution looked slightly different, clearer than usual insulin. Tested it with glucose meter that also detects insulin presence. Result? No insulin detected. The vial labeled as insulin was actually saline solution. Someone had been systematically replacing my insulin with saline. I was injecting worthless salt water while my body received no actual diabetes medication. That's why my blood sugar was uncontrolled. I wasn't actually getting insulin. Only Austin had access to my apartment. He still had spare key from when he helped me move in. Found ordering history on his Amazon account for medical syringes and saline solution. I didn't tell Austin I knew. Instead, I secured my real insulin in locked container only I could access. Used that insulin while leaving the saline-replaced vials where Austin could see them, but not access the good supply. Within 1 week, my blood sugar normalized completely. Perfect control. No more dangerous highs, no ER visits, no symptoms. The medication resistance vanished once I was actually receiving insulin instead of saline. Installed hidden cameras in my apartment. Caught Austin on video entering with his key when I was at work, going to my medication drawer, removing insulin vials, and replacing them with identical-looking vials from his bag. He carefully matched the labels, dates, everything, except the contents were saline, not life-saving insulin. Confronted him with video evidence. He admitted everything. "You've been replacing my insulin with saline? For 4 months? You nearly killed me." I was proving you can't live alone safely. Diabetics need family supervision. Once you lost your license and couldn't manage independently, you'd have to move home. I was managing fine until you sabotaged my medication. You gave me saline instead of insulin, caused diabetic emergencies, made me lose my license, all to force me to be dependent? You shouldn't get independence I don't have. If I have to live at home, so should you. I reported to police immediately. Replacing life-saving medication with placebo is attempted murder. Type 1 diabetics die without insulin. Austin had been systematically depriving me of medication I need to survive. Detective handling case. Your brother replaced your insulin with saline for 4 months, caused diabetic emergencies requiring ER visits, made you lose your driver's license? This is attempted murder. Evidence overwhelming. Video of Austin replacing medication, saline vials recovered from my apartment with his fingerprints, his Amazon purchase history for medical supplies, and my medical records showing sudden insulin resistance that resolved immediately once I secured actual insulin. My endocrinologist was horrified. Your brother was giving you saline instead of insulin? That explains the sudden, uncontrolled diabetes. You weren't insulin resistant. You were receiving no insulin. DMV reinstated my license once they learned the diabetic emergencies were caused by criminal medication tampering, not inability to manage my condition. Austin was charged with attempted murder, poisoning, tampering with pharmaceutical products, and reckless endangerment. Criminal trial proceeded with video evidence of Austin replacing my insulin, medical testimony about life-threatening consequences of insulin deprivation, and Austin's own admission he was trying to force me into dependence. Prosecutor. Defendant systematically replaced his sister's life-saving insulin with saline for 4 months. Type 1 diabetics die without insulin. Defendant knew this and deliberately deprived her of medication, causing severe diabetic emergencies, ER visits, and loss of driver's license. This is attempted murder. Endocrinologist testified. Type 1 diabetics produce no insulin naturally. External insulin is essential for survival. Replacing it with saline is equivalent to removing life support. Defendant caused potentially fatal diabetic emergencies through medication deprivation. Emergency physicians testified. Patient presented twice with severe hyperglycemia and ketoacidosis despite supposedly taking insulin. We were confused why medication wasn't working. Learning she was receiving saline instead of insulin explains everything. She was in diabetic crisis because she had no insulin in her system. Video showed Austin methodically replacing medication, removing real insulin vials, inserting identical vials of saline from his bag, ensuring labels matched so I wouldn't notice the switch. My testimony. I thought I was taking insulin. I was doing everything right. My diabetes was mysteriously uncontrolled. I was having emergencies. I lost my license. Learning my brother was replacing my insulin with saline, He was trying to kill me or force me into dependence by creating medical crises. Evidence of Amazon purchases showed Austin had bought medical syringes and saline solution, exact supplies needed to create the fake insulin vials that nearly killed me. Austin's defense claimed he thought he was helping. My client believed his sister needed to move home for proper diabetes management. Prosecutor: defendant didn't help. He replaced life-saving medication with saline, causing medical emergencies. He admitted his goal was forcing dependence. Text messages show he was pleased when she lost her license. This was attempted murder, not misguided help. Judge: you replaced your sister's insulin with saline for 4 months. You caused diabetic emergencies. You nearly killed her. That's attempted murder, not family concern. Convicted on all counts. Sentenced to 8 years in prison, 5 years probation, restitution for medical costs, and permanent restraining order. I'm living independently with perfect diabetes control now that Austin can't access my medication. License restored, career continuing, health stabilized. Austin's in prison. My insulin is secured. Diabetes managed properly without his sabotage. I'm 24, thriving independently, despite my brother spending 4 months trying to kill me through insulin deprivation. Everything he tried to prevent, my independence and success, continues without him. 8 years Austin's serving. 4 months he replaced my insulin. 24 years I've lived with diabetes, nearly died from his sabotage. Numbers that matter. Prison time earned. Independence maintained despite his attempted murder. Living alone successfully. Managing diabetes properly with actual insulin. Driving with restored license. Everything Austin tried to destroy. Everything thriving anyway. Austin imprisoned. Me, independent. Fair consequence for replacing life-saving medication. Healthy, independent, alive despite his sabotage. That's enough. Brother secretly replaced my birth control pills with vitamins to force pregnancy. I discovered my brother had been systematically replacing my birth control pills with identical-looking vitamins for 6 months to get me pregnant and trap me in my hometown. I'm 23 years old, taking combined oral contraceptive pills for reliable birth control. Planning to move across country in 3 months for graduate school. My brother Tyler is 26, still lives at home, resents that I'm abandoning the family by moving away for education. He constantly makes comments, "Once you get pregnant, you'll have to stay. Can't just leave when you're responsible for a kid." I'm not getting pregnant. I'm on birth control specifically to prevent that. Birth control fails sometimes. Accidents happen. 3 months ago, I discovered I was pregnant despite taking my pills religiously every day, same time, never missing doses. My gynecologist was confused. Birth control is 99% effective with perfect use. You say you've been compliant? Absolutely. I take it every morning at 7 a.m., never miss. Sometimes breakthrough pregnancies occur, but it's rare with your level of compliance. I was devastated. Graduate school acceptance, cross-country move, career plans, all derailed by unexpected pregnancy. Tyler seemed almost happy. Guess you're staying local now. Can't move across country pregnant and with a baby. I scheduled abortion. Keeping my plans on track was priority. Made appointment for next week. 2 days before procedure, I noticed my birth control pill looked slightly different. Same size, same color, but texture was marginally different. Took it to pharmacist. Does this look right? Pharmacist examined it. This isn't birth control. This is vitamin B complex. Someone replaced your contraceptive with vitamin pills. Horror set in. Someone had been giving me fake pills, ensuring I'd get pregnant. Only person with access to my apartment was Tyler. He had spare key because he might need to feed my cat when I traveled. Checked my pill pack carefully. Every single pill was actually vitamin. None were real contraceptive. Someone had methodically replaced every pill in my pack with identical-looking vitamins. Installed hidden camera. Caught Tyler on video entering my apartment while I was at work, going to bathroom medicine cabinet, removing my birth control pack, and replacing pills with vitamins from a bottle he'd brought. My brother had sabotaged my birth control for months to force pregnancy that would prevent me from moving. I didn't tell Tyler I knew. Instead, I secured my actual birth control in locked container he couldn't access, continued taking real pills while leaving the vitamin pack where he could see it but not tamper with anymore. I also proceeded with my scheduled abortion. Pregnancy was result of his sabotage. I wasn't going to let his tampering derail my life plans. After abortion, I confronted Tyler with the security footage showing him replacing my birth control with vitamins. "You've been sabotaging my birth control? Replacing my pills with vitamins? You caused this pregnancy?" He admitted it immediately, seemed to think he'd done nothing wrong. "You were going to leave. I made sure you'd have reason to stay. By forcing me to get pregnant? By tampering with my medication? You'd have stayed if you'd kept the pregnancy. Would have been good for you. Settle down. Raise a family here instead of running away to grad school. I had an abortion. Your sabotage didn't work." His face fell. "You killed my niece or nephew. You got rid of the baby. The pregnancy you forced on me by committing reproductive coercion? Yes. I terminated it, and I'm still moving for grad school." I reported to police immediately. Reproductive coercion, tampering with someone's birth control without consent, is crime in my state. Tyler had systematically sabotaged my contraception to force pregnancy against my will. Evidence overwhelming. Security footage of Tyler replacing pills. Pharmacist confirmation the birth control was actually vitamins. My medical records showing pregnancy despite reported perfect pill compliance. And Tyler's own admission he'd been tampering to prevent me from moving. Detective assigned to case. Your brother replaced your birth control pills with vitamins to force you to get pregnant? That's reproductive coercion, assault, and pharmaceutical tampering. Charges filed. Reproductive coercion, assault, tampering with pharmaceutical products, breaking and entering, using key for unauthorized purpose, and conspiracy to interfere with medical treatment. Tyler was arrested. Initially didn't understand why. I was trying to help her stay with family. You forced pregnancy on her by sabotaging her birth control. That's serious crime. My parents were horrified. Tyler tampered with your birth control? Made you get pregnant against your will? That's monstrous. Extended family divided. Some supported me. Others thought I should have kept the baby, since it was already there. The pregnancy was result of reproductive assault. I had every right to terminate. Criminal trial proceeded with video evidence, pharmaceutical analysis, and medical testimony. Reproductive coercion laws recognized tampering with birth control as form of assault and reproductive abuse. Prosecutor. Defendant systematically replaced his sister's birth control pills with vitamins over months. He accessed her apartment without permission, tampered with her medication, and caused forced pregnancy. His goal was preventing her from moving away by trapping her with unwanted child. Security footage showed Tyler entering my apartment, going directly to medicine cabinet, removing birth control pack, and methodically replacing pills with vitamins that looked identical. Pharmacist testified. Pills victim was taking were vitamin B complex, not contraceptive hormones. Someone had replaced every pill in the pack. This required deliberate, sustained effort, not a one-time accident. Gynecologist testified. Patient was compliant with birth control regimen. Pregnancy shouldn't have occurred with her level of adherence. Learning her pills were replaced with vitamins explains the breakthrough pregnancy. She wasn't actually receiving contraceptive medication. Evidence showed Tyler had researched which vitamins looked most like my birth control pills, purchased them online, and spent months systematically swapping them to ensure pregnancy. Text messages to friend. She's leaving for grad school unless something stops her. I'm making sure she gets pregnant so she has to stay. My testimony. Tyler was angry I was moving across country. He repeatedly said pregnancy would force me to stay. He used his key to access my apartment and replaced my birth control with vitamins. I got pregnant because he sabotaged my contraception. This was reproductive assault. Evidence of abortion was relevant. I'd terminated the forced pregnancy and was proceeding with grad school plans. Tyler's scheme had failed. Tyler's defense claimed he was helping families stay together. My client didn't want his sister to move away. Prosecutor. Defendant didn't have discussion about his feelings. He committed reproductive assault. He forced pregnancy on his sister by tampering with her medication. That's not family concern. That's criminal coercion. Judge. You systematically sabotaged your sister's birth control to force pregnancy against her will. You violated her bodily autonomy, her reproductive rights, and her medical care. That's serious assault. Convicted on all charges. Sentenced to 5 years in prison, 4 years probation, restitution for medical costs including abortion, mandatory counseling on reproductive rights and consent, and permanent restraining order. I'm moving across country next month for graduate school as planned. Tyler's sabotage failed. I terminated the forced pregnancy, and I'm proceeding with my life. Tyler's in prison. I'm healthy and moving forward with my plans. His reproductive coercion didn't trap me. I'm 23, starting grad school despite my brother's 6-month campaign to force pregnancy and prevent me from leaving. Everything he tried to trap me with, eliminated. 5 years Tyler's serving. 6 months he tampered with my birth control. 3 months until I move across country as planned. Numbers that tell story. Prison time earned, freedom maintained. Moving for grad school. No forced pregnancy. No trapped future. Plans intact despite his sabotage. Everything he tried to force. Everything I prevented. Tyler imprisoned. Me moving forward. Fair consequence for reproductive coercion. Bodily autonomy protected. Life plans proceeding. Future untrapped. That's enough. Father was secretly giving my rescue dog back to abusive previous owner. I discovered my father had been secretly arranging for my rescue dog to be returned to the abusive owner I'd saved him from, claiming the original owner deserved him back. I'm 24 years old, animal welfare volunteer who rescued my dog Max from documented abuse situation 2 years ago. Max was severely malnourished, had untreated injuries, lived chained outside year-round with no shelter. I worked with animal control to remove him legally, foster him, then officially adopt him after rehabilitation. Max is now healthy, happy, my emotional support companion. My father Robert has always been obsessed with property rights and original ownership. When I rescued Max, he said, "That dog belongs to someone. You stole someone's property." Max was being abused. Animal control seized him legally. I adopted him through proper channels. Still, the original owner probably wants his dog back. You interfered. 3 months ago, Max started acting anxious when my father visited. Would hide, refuse to come out, tremble when Robert was around. I thought Max was just having behavioral regression. Rescue dogs sometimes do. 2 weeks ago, I installed security camera after noticing Max seemed extra stressed. Footage showed my father bringing strange man into my apartment when I was at work. Dad has spare key for emergencies. The man was Max's original abusive owner. They were trying to lure Max out of hiding, attempting to take him. Max refused, ran to bedroom, hid under bed. They couldn't get him. But they'd tried. My father had brought Max's abuser into my home to steal him back. Checked earlier camera footage. This was 4th attempt over 3 months. 4 times my father had brought the abusive ex-owner to my apartment, trying to return Max without my knowledge. Confronted my father with video evidence. He admitted everything. "You've been bringing Max's abuser to my apartment? Trying to give my dog back to the man who nearly killed him?" Max was his dog first. I tracked down the original owner. He wants his property back. Max isn't property. He's a living being who was abused. Animal control seized him. I legally adopted him. You're trying to kidnap my dog and give him back to his abuser. I'm correcting an injustice. The man had his dog taken. I'm helping him get it back. I reported to police immediately. Showed them security footage of my father bringing Max's abusive former owner into my apartment multiple times, attempting to take the dog without my permission or knowledge. Evidence was clear. 4 separate incidents over 3 months where Robert used emergency key to access my apartment brought convicted animal abuser inside. The man had been convicted after Max was seized and attempted to remove my legally adopted dog. Detective assigned to case. Your father has been facilitating attempted dog theft by bringing convicted animal abuser to your home. This is breaking and entering, conspiracy to commit theft, and animal endangerment. Animal control records confirmed Max's original owner had been convicted of animal cruelty, prohibited from owning animals for 10 years, and Max had been legally seized and made available for adoption, which I completed properly. So the man my father is trying to give Max to is legally prohibited from having any animals? Correct. Your father is attempting to place your dog with someone who's banned from animal ownership due to documented abuse. Additional investigation revealed my father had been communicating with Max's abuser for months, planning the return, discussing how to get past Max's anxiety and remove him from my apartment. Text messages between them. Father, the dog hides when we come. Need to wait until she's gone longer. Abuser, that's my dog. She had no right to take him. Father, I agree. We'll keep trying. Eventually we'll get him out. They'd planned to escalate. Next attempt would involve Crate to trap Max if he ran, forcing him out of my apartment. Robert was charged with breaking and entering, using emergency key for non-emergency purpose, conspiracy to commit theft, and animal endangerment, attempting to place dog with convicted abuser. Max's former owner was charged with attempted theft, stalking, and violating animal ownership prohibition from his conviction. I changed all locks immediately, revoked my father's key access permanently. Max's anxiety decreased once my father stopped visiting. He'd been terrified because he recognized his abuser's scent and presence in our home during those attempted theft incidents. Animal welfare advocates used the case to highlight, rescue animals are legally adopted. Original abusive owners have no rights to animals seized due to their cruelty. My father showed no remorse. I was doing what's right. Original owner deserves his property. Max is a living being who was nearly killed by that man. Animal control convicted him of cruelty. You were trying to kidnap my dog and give him back to his abuser. Criminal trial proceeded with security footage showing 4 separate break-in attempts, text messages planning dog theft, and animal control records documenting original owner's abuse conviction. Prosecutor. Defendant repeatedly entered his daughter's apartment without permission, bringing convicted animal abuser with him. Their goal was removing legally adopted rescue dog and returning him to the man who'd abused him and was prohibited from owning animals. Security footage played in court. My father letting himself in with key, bringing Max's abuser inside, both men trying to lure terrified dog out of hiding, discussing how to get him out of here. Animal control officer testified. Original owner was convicted of severe animal neglect and cruelty. Dog was legally seized, rehabilitated, and adopted to new owner. Original owner is prohibited from owning animals for 10 years. Defendant was attempting to violate that court order by returning dog to abuser. Veterinarian who treated Max after rescue testified, dog was severely malnourished, had untreated injuries, showed signs of long-term neglect. He's now healthy and thriving with current owner. Returning him to original situation would be animal cruelty. My testimony. Max was terrified when my father visited. I didn't understand why until I saw footage of my father bringing Max's abuser into our home repeatedly, trying to steal him. Max recognized his abuser and was traumatized by these intrusions. Evidence showed Max's behavioral regression aligned perfectly with timing of break-in attempts. Anxiety spiked because his abuser was in his safe space. Text messages showed planning. "We'll get the dog eventually," and discussions about using crate to force removal if Max wouldn't come willingly. My father's defense claimed he was helping wronged owner. My client believed original owner deserved his dog back. Prosecutor: original owner was convicted of animal cruelty. Court prohibited him from owning animals. Defendant doesn't get to override court order because he disagrees with it. He committed crimes: breaking and entering, conspiracy, endangering animal by attempting to return him to abuser. Max's former owner offered no defense. He'd violated his animal ownership prohibition multiple times by attempting to reclaim Max. Judge to my father: you repeatedly broke into your daughter's home to facilitate dog theft by convicted animal abuser. You traumatized the animal and violated court orders. That's not helping. That's criminal conspiracy. My father convicted on all charges: 3 years in prison, 3 years probation, restitution for my security system, and therapy for Max's behavioral regression, and permanent restraining order. Cannot come near me or Max. Max's former owner convicted of violating animal ownership prohibition and attempted theft. 2 years in prison, extended prohibition from owning animals to lifetime ban. Max and I are safe now. His anxiety resolved completely after my father's visits stopped and the threat of being stolen ended. I'm 24, living safely with my rescue dog, who my father tried to return to the abuser I saved him from. Max is healthy, happy, no longer hiding from his traumatic past, showing up in our home. 3 years, my father's serving. 3 months, he attempted the theft. 2 years since I rescued Max from abuse. My father wanted to return him to. Numbers that tell story. Prison time earned. Safety finally secured. Max thriving without threat of being stolen. Living peacefully without my father bringing his abuser to our home. Everything my father tried to take. Everything we kept. Father imprisoned. Max safe. Fair consequence for facilitating animal theft and endangerment. Safe home. Happy dog. Life without people trying to return him to abuse. That's enough. Uncle was secretly diluting my EpiPens to make severe allergies seem fake. I discovered my uncle had been systematically diluting my emergency epinephrine auto-injectors for 8 months to prove my severe allergies were exaggerated attention-seeking. I'm 21 years old, have life-threatening allergies to peanuts and shellfish. Anaphylaxis risk requiring EpiPen availability at all times. My Uncle Dennis is 52, conspiracy theorist type who believes most allergies are psychological and people with food allergies are creating drama for attention. Your generation invents medical problems. Food allergies weren't this common when I was young. It's all in your head. My allergies are diagnosed. I carry EpiPens because exposure can kill me. You just want special treatment. Most allergies are people being dramatic. 8 months ago, I had severe allergic reaction at family dinner, cross-contamination with peanut oil. Used my EpiPen immediately as trained. Normally, epinephrine works within minutes, reduces swelling, improves breathing, buys time to get to hospital. This time, minimal effect. Symptoms barely improved. Had to use second EpiPen, still inadequate response. Paramedics arrived, administered their epinephrine. That worked immediately. ER doctor was confused. Your EpiPens should have been effective. Did you store them properly? Yes, always room temperature, never expired. I don't understand why they didn't work. Sometimes devices malfunction, but 2 failing simultaneously is unusual. Got new EpiPens from pharmacy. 6 weeks later, another exposure incident. Used EpiPen, again, barely worked. Symptoms continued worsening. Used backup, still inadequate. Only hospital epinephrine actually stopped the reaction. Allergist was alarmed. 4 EpiPens have failed you during 2 separate anaphylactic episodes. Something's wrong. Let's test your current devices. Lab analysis showed my EpiPens contained significantly diluted epinephrine, only 40 to 50% of proper concentration. Someone had been drawing out medication and replacing it with saline, making my emergency medication essentially useless while keeping appearance intact. Only person with regular access to my apartment was Uncle Dennis. He still had spare key from when he helped me move in last year. I'd noticed him near my medical supply drawer during family visits, but thought nothing of it. Installed hidden camera. Caught Dennis accessing my EpiPens, using syringe to extract epinephrine, refilling with saline to maintain volume, then carefully replacing them. He'd been systematically sabotaging my life-saving medication for months. I didn't confront Dennis immediately. First, I secured my real EpiPens in locked container only I could access. Kept diluted ones visible so he'd think his sabotage continued while I carried actual functional devices. I also reported to police with video evidence. Tampering with emergency medication is serious crime, especially when it risks someone's life during medical emergency. Detective handling case. Your uncle has been diluting your EpiPens, making them ineffective during allergic reactions? This is attempted murder. Anaphylaxis can be fatal. Evidence overwhelming. Video of Dennis drawing out epinephrine and replacing with saline. Lab analysis showing my EpiPens were only 40–50% effective. Medical records documenting 2 near-fatal allergic reactions where my EpiPens failed. And comparison to hospital epinephrine that worked normally. When confronted with evidence, Dennis admitted everything. I was proving your allergies are fake. If the EpiPens didn't work and you survived, it shows you don't really need them. Your allergies are psychological. You nearly killed me. Twice. I only survived because paramedics arrived with real epinephrine. You're being dramatic. If the allergies were real, you'd have died without the EpiPens. Since you survived, I proved my point. I survived because emergency responders gave me actual medication after yours didn't work. His logic was insane. He'd sabotaged my EpiPens to prove I didn't need them, ignoring that I only survived because medical professionals provided real epinephrine after his diluted versions failed. Charged with attempted murder. 2 counts. 1 for each allergic reaction where sabotaged EpiPens failed. Pharmaceutical tampering, reckless endangerment, and breaking and entering. My family was horrified. Dennis diluted your EpiPens? Made them useless during anaphylaxis? You could have died. Some family members tried to defend him. He didn't mean harm. He just doesn't understand allergies. He systematically sabotaged life-saving medication for 8 months. During 2 allergic reactions, his sabotage nearly killed me. That's not misunderstanding. That's attempted murder. Allergist provided expert testimony. Patient experienced 2 anaphylactic reactions where her EpiPens were ineffective. She would have died without emergency medical intervention. Learning the EpiPens were deliberately diluted, that's life-threatening sabotage. Criminal trial proceeded with video evidence, pharmaceutical analysis, and medical expert testimony. Prosecutors emphasized Dennis had created potentially fatal situations by sabotaging emergency medication. Prosecutor. Defendant systematically diluted victims' EpiPens over 8 months. During 2 separate anaphylactic reactions, the sabotaged devices failed. Victim nearly died both times. Survived only because paramedics arrived with functional epinephrine. Defendant's stated goal was proving allergies were fake by making emergency medication ineffective. Security footage showed Dennis methodically extracting epinephrine from EpiPens, replacing it with saline to maintain appearance while rendering devices useless. Pharmaceutical experts testified. EpiPens tested at 40–50% normal epinephrine concentration. Someone systematically extracted medication and replaced with saline. During anaphylaxis, this dilution makes devices dangerously ineffective. Paramedics testified, "We responded to 2 calls for patient in anaphylactic shock. Patient reported using EpiPens with minimal effect. We administered standard epinephrine. Patient responded immediately. Her EpiPens should have worked but didn't." Allergist testimony. Anaphylaxis can be fatal within minutes. EpiPens are emergency medication that buys time to reach hospital. Diluting them is equivalent to removing life support during medical crisis. Patient survived only because emergency responders arrived quickly with functional epinephrine. Medical records showed 2 documented near-fatal reactions where my EpiPens failed but hospital epinephrine worked. Exact pattern expected if devices were deliberately sabotaged. My testimony. Uncle Dennis repeatedly said my allergies were fake, that I was being dramatic. He had access to my apartment. During 2 allergic reactions, my EpiPens barely worked. I was dying while using medication that should have saved me. Only paramedics arriving with real epinephrine kept me alive. Dennis's own statement. I was proving the allergies are psychological. If the diluted EpiPens didn't work and she survived, it shows she doesn't really need full-strength medication. Prosecutor. Defendant's logic is fatally flawed. Victim survived because emergency responders provided real medication after his sabotaged devices failed. Without that intervention, she'd be dead. This is attempted murder. Judge. You deliberately sabotaged life-saving medication to prove a false point. You created 2 situations where the victim nearly died. That's attempted murder, regardless of your twisted reasoning. Convicted on both counts of attempted murder, pharmaceutical tampering, and related charges. Sentenced to 12 years in prison, supervised release, restitution for medical costs, and permanent restraining order. I carry verified, secured EpiPens now. Dennis can't access them. My allergies remain very real, despite his attempt to prove otherwise by nearly killing me. I'm 21, living safely with functional emergency medication after my uncle spent 8 months sabotaging my EpiPens to prove allergies he doesn't believe in are fake. 12 years Dennis is serving. 8 months he diluted my medication. 2 times I nearly died because his sabotaged EpiPens failed during anaphylaxis. Numbers that tell story. Prison time earned. Life saved despite his attempts. Carrying real EpiPens secured from tampering. Living with verified allergies Dennis tried to disprove through attempted murder. Everything he tried to prove false. Everything that nearly killed me proving it's real. Dennis imprisoned. Me alive with functional medication. Fair consequence for sabotaging life-saving devices. Safe now. Protected. Surviving despite his pharmaceutical terrorism. That's enough. Stepbrother hacked my medical records to out me as transgender to my workplace. I discovered my stepbrother had hacked into my medical records and sent detailed information about my transgender status to my employer to get me fired. I'm 23 years old, transgender woman who transitioned 2 years ago. I'm stealth at work. Coworkers don't know my medical history and I present as cisgender woman. My stepbrother Marcus is 28, lives with his mother, my stepmother, deeply transphobic, constantly makes comments about how I'm pretending to be something I'm not. 3 weeks ago, someone anonymously sent detailed medical documentation to my workplace HR. Hormone prescriptions, gender transition records, surgical history, therapy notes about gender dysphoria. Everything from my private medical files. Email said I was deceiving coworkers by pretending to be real woman, and companies should know they hired a man. HR called me in. We received disturbing email containing your private medical information. We want you to know this doesn't affect your employment. We don't discriminate. But we're concerned about medical record breach and harassment. Someone had accessed my most private medical information and sent it to my employer in an attempt to get me fired or force me to out myself to entire workplace. IT traced email, used temporary anonymous account, but digital forensics revealed it was sent from Marcus's IP address. He'd somehow accessed my medical records and sent them to my company. Investigation showed Marcus had used my login information. He'd seen me log into patient portal when I lived briefly with my dad and stepmother last year. To access records, download everything, then send to my workplace. Confronted him. He admitted it immediately, seemed proud. You sent my medical records to my job? You tried to out me at work? You're living a lie. Your coworkers deserve to know the truth about what you are. My medical history is private. You committed a crime by accessing it and sending it to my employer. I'm exposing deception. You're a man pretending to be woman. People should know. I reported to police. HIPAA violations, computer hacking, harassment, and discrimination. Also reported to state medical privacy authorities. Investigation confirmed Marcus had illegally accessed my medical records through my patient portal, downloaded confidential transition-related documentation, and sent it to my employer with transphobic commentary designed to get me fired. Evidence was overwhelming. Login records showing Marcus's IP address accessing my medical portal, downloads from that session matching files sent to my employer, email metadata connecting him to anonymous account, and his own admission when confronted. Federal charges followed. HIPAA violations are federal crimes. Marcus had accessed protected health information without authorization and disclosed it to third parties for discriminatory purposes. Prosecutor. Defendant hacked victims' medical records, obtained private transgender healthcare information, and sent it to victim's employer with intent to cause employment discrimination. This violates federal medical privacy laws and state harassment statutes. My employer was supportive. We don't tolerate discrimination. Your medical history is your private business. We're cooperating with law enforcement to prosecute whoever breached your privacy. Workplace relationships became strained, though. Some coworkers had seen or heard about the email before HR contained it. Word spread that I'm transgender. My stealth status was destroyed by Marcus's breach. Some coworkers supportive. Your medical history is nobody's business. Sorry someone violated your privacy. Others awkward or distant, suddenly treating me differently after learning I'm trans. The comfortable workplace dynamic I'd built over 2 years was damaged. My stepmother defended Marcus. He was just being honest. People have a right to know. He committed federal crimes, hacked my medical records, sent private health information to my employer. That's not honesty. That's harassment. My father stood by me. Marcus violated your privacy, broke federal law, and tried to get you fired because he's transphobic. That's unforgivable. Parents' marriage strained, Dad seeing stepfamily's bigotry clearly now. Marcus was charged federally with unauthorized access to protected health information, disclosure of medical records, computer hacking, and harassment under hate crime statutes, targeting me because I'm transgender. Digital forensics expert testified. Defendant accessed victim's medical portal using stolen login credentials, downloaded 47 pages of transition-related medical records, then sent them to victim's employer. All unauthorized access and disclosure. Federal trial proceeded with clear evidence of HIPAA violations, hacking, and discriminatory harassment. Marcus faced serious federal charges for accessing and disclosing protected medical information. Prosecutor. Defendant illegally accessed his stepsister's confidential medical records, specifically targeting her transgender healthcare information. He sent these private records to her employer with transphobic commentary, attempting to cause employment discrimination. This violates federal medical privacy laws and hate crime statutes. IT security experts testified. Login records show defendant accessed victim's medical portal from his IP address, navigated directly to transition-related documents, downloaded them, and sent them from anonymous email account traced to his devices. HIPAA enforcement representatives testified. Protected health information was accessed without authorization and disclosed to victim's employer. This is serious federal violation with criminal penalties. My employer's HR director testified. We received anonymous email containing employees' private medical records with transphobic language suggesting we should terminate her. We don't discriminate based on gender identity. We reported the privacy breach and supported the employee. Evidence included 47 pages of my medical records Marcus had accessed and sent, hormone therapy documentation, surgical records, mental health notes about gender dysphoria, all deeply private information weaponized against me. My testimony. Marcus has always been transphobic. He accessed my most private medical information and sent it to my workplace trying to get me fired. He destroyed my stealth status and comfortable work environment because he hates that I'm transgender. Workplace impact evidence showed several coworkers had seen the email. Rumors spread. My privacy violated permanently. I went from stealth employee to the trans woman because of Marcus's breach. Marcus's defense claimed he had concerns about deception. My client believed coworkers deserved to know the truth. Prosecutor. Defendant had no right to access private medical records or disclose them. His truth was criminal invasion of privacy motivated by transphobia. The law protects medical privacy. Defendant doesn't get to violate it because he's bigoted. Hate crime enhancement applied because Marcus specifically targeted me for being transgender, accessing transition-related records to weaponize them. Judge. You illegally accessed your stepsister's protected health information because you wanted to harm her for being transgender. You sent confidential medical records to her employer, hoping she'd be fired. This is federal crime with hate crime enhancement. Convicted on all federal charges. Sentenced to 4 years in federal prison, 3 years supervised release, restitution for my legal fees and therapy costs, mandatory diversity training, and permanent restraining order. I'm still at my job. Employer remained supportive, but workplace dynamics permanently changed. I'm no longer stealth. Some relationships strained. Building new normal where coworkers know I'm trans. Considering moving to new company where I can decide whether to disclose on my own terms, not have it forced through criminal privacy breach. Marcus is in federal prison. My medical privacy was violated, stealth status destroyed, work environment forever changed. I'm 23, rebuilding professional life after stepbrother criminally breached my medical records to out me at work. Everything I'd carefully built, comfortable workplace relationships, stealth status, destroyed by his transphobic hacking. 4 years Marcus serving, 2 years I'd been stealth at work. 23 years I've lived, 2 of them as my authentic self before Marcus weaponized my medical records. Numbers that tell story. Prison time earned. Privacy permanently violated. Working at same company with new dynamic. Coworkers know I'm trans because Marcus hacked my records and told them. Everything he destroyed. Everything I'm rebuilding anyway. Marcus imprisoned. Me employed despite his interference. Fair consequence for federal privacy violations. Surviving. Working. Being myself despite his criminal disclosure. That's enough. Aunt secretly convinced my therapist I was making up trauma to get attention. I discovered my aunt had been contacting my therapist for months, claiming I fabricated my trauma history, convincing my therapist to stop believing me and end my treatment. I'm 22 years old, survivor of childhood abuse by my biological father. In therapy for 3 years processing trauma, making real progress with Dr. Sarah Chen. My Aunt Linda is my father's sister, always defended him, claims the abuse never happened, and I'm creating false memories for attention. 6 months ago, my therapy sessions started changing. Dr. Chen became more skeptical of my trauma accounts, questioning details I'd previously worked through with her. She'd say things like, "Are you sure that's how it happened?" And, "Sometimes our minds create narratives that aren't quite accurate. I've told you this before. You believed me. Why are you questioning it now?" I'm just encouraging you to examine your memories critically. Make sure they're real and not constructed. Her entire approach shifted from trauma-focused therapy to something more like interrogation. She started suggesting my memories might be influenced by others, or exaggerated for effect. Our therapeutic relationship, which had been strong for 3 years, deteriorated rapidly. Then, Dr. Chen terminated our therapy. "I don't think I can effectively treat you anymore. I'm referring you to another provider." "Why? What changed?" "I have concerns about the validity of your trauma narrative. I think you need fresh perspective from therapists who can help you distinguish between actual memories and constructed ones." I was devastated. 3 years of progress, therapist who knew my history, suddenly saying she doesn't believe my trauma is real. Made me question everything. Was I making it up? Were my memories false? Found new therapist, Dr. James Morrison. Told him what happened. He was disturbed. "Your previous therapist suddenly started doubting trauma she'd worked with you on for 3 years? That's unusual. Therapists don't typically reverse their clinical judgment without significant reason." Last week, Dr. Chen's office accidentally sent me email thread meant for internal review. Email chain showed my Aunt Linda had been contacting Dr. Chen for months, claiming to be concerned family member, providing context about my false allegations. Linda told Dr. Chen I'd fabricated abuse claims, that I have attention-seeking behavior, that my father never abused me. My aunt had convinced my therapist my trauma wasn't real. The email thread was extensive, months of communications between Linda and Dr. Chen. Linda had positioned herself as concerned family member trying to help, slowly undermining my credibility and convincing Dr. Chen my trauma history was fabricated. Linda's emails. "My niece has always been dramatic. She creates stories for attention. The abuse she claims never happened. Her father was loving parent. She's making false allegations. She's influenced by online trauma communities. They've convinced her to invent abuse narrative. I'm worried she's wasting your time and resources with fabricated trauma. As family, I feel obligated to tell you the truth." Dr. Chen's responses showed she'd been increasingly swayed by Linda's claims, eventually leading to her skepticism in sessions and decision to terminate treatment. This violated every ethical standard. Therapists shouldn't accept context from family members about patients' trauma without patient knowledge or consent. Dr. Chen had let Linda poison the therapeutic relationship. I reported to State Licensing Board immediately. My therapist was secretly communicating with my aunt, who convinced her my trauma was fabricated. This violated confidentiality and destroyed our therapeutic relationship. Licensing Board investigated. Dr. Chen admitted to communications with Linda. "I thought I was getting helpful family context. You let patient's family member convince you to doubt trauma you'd been treating for 3 years, without telling patient or getting her consent to speak with family?" Board found multiple violations. Communicating with family member without patient consent, allowing outside influence to affect clinical judgment, breaching therapeutic trust, and terminating treatment based on family members' claims rather than clinical assessment. Dr. Chen's license suspended. Required retraining on ethics and boundaries before reinstatement. Linda was charged with interference with medical treatment and harassment. Evidence. Email thread showing her systematic campaign to undermine my therapy. My new therapist, Dr. Morrison, was supportive. "What happened to you is serious ethics violation. Your aunt deliberately sabotaged your mental health treatment. Let's work on rebuilding trust in therapy process." My father, Linda's brother and my abuser, was pleased about the therapy disruption. Linda had done this to protect him, destroy my credibility, and stop me from processing trauma he'd caused. Criminal case against Linda proceeded on charges of interference with medical care and cyber harassment. Trial revealed full extent of Linda's campaign to destroy my mental health treatment. Evidence included months of emails systematically undermining my credibility, lying about my trauma history, and convincing Dr. Chen I was fabricating abuse. Prosecutor. Defendant contacted victim's therapist repeatedly over months, claiming victim was lying about childhood abuse. Defendant's goal was ending victims' trauma therapy by destroying therapists' trust in victims' accounts. This is interference with medical treatment and harassment. Dr. Chen testified. Family member contacted me claiming to provide context. She said patient fabricated abuse allegations, sought attention, had pattern of false claims. Over months, these communications affected my clinical judgment. I started doubting patients' trauma narrative, something I'd never questioned in 3 years. I eventually terminated treatment based partly on family members' influence. Licensing board representative testified, Dr. Chen committed serious ethical violations by communicating with patient's family member without consent and allowing outside party to influence treatment decisions. This destroyed therapeutic relationship patient had built over 3 years. Dr. Morrison testified, patient came to me after previous therapist terminated her, saying therapist stopped believing her trauma. Patient was re-traumatized by her therapist doubting her abuse history. Learning this was caused by family members' interference. That's deliberate psychological harm. Email evidence showed Linda's systematic approach, starting with seeming concern, gradually introducing doubt about my credibility, eventually convincing Dr. Chen my trauma was fiction. My testimony. I trusted Dr. Chen. We'd worked together for 3 years processing my childhood abuse. Suddenly she started doubting me, questioning if my memories were real, treating me like I was lying. Finding out my aunt had been secretly contacting her for months, convincing her my trauma was fake. It destroyed 3 years of therapeutic progress. Linda's defense claimed she had genuine concerns. My client worried her niece was being influenced by false memories. Prosecutor. Defendant's brother is the alleged abuser. Defendant has always defended him and denied abuse occurred. Her emails weren't concern. They were campaign to protect her brother by destroying her niece's therapy and credibility. Judge. You systematically interfered with your niece's mental health treatment. You contacted her therapist without her knowledge and convinced therapist to doubt trauma she'd been treating. That's not family concern. That's deliberate sabotage of medical care. Convicted on all charges. Sentenced to 18 months in prison, 3 years probation, restitution for therapy costs, and permanent restraining order. Dr. Chen's license remains suspended, pending completion of ethics retraining and probationary period. I'm working with Dr. Morrison, rebuilding trust in therapy, reprocessing trauma that Linda tried to erase by convincing Dr. Chen it never happened. Linda's in prison. Dr. Chen's facing consequences. My trauma is real, despite their attempts to deny it. I'm 22, rebuilding therapeutic progress my aunt destroyed by convincing my therapist I was lying. 3 years of work undermined by months of her interference. 18 months, Linda's serving. 6 months, she contacted Dr. Chen. 3 years I'd worked with Dr. Chen before Linda destroyed that relationship. Numbers that tell the story. Prison time earned. Therapy being rebuilt. Working with new therapist who believes me. Processing trauma Linda tried to erase. Building progress she tried to destroy. Everything she tried to deny. Everything still real and being treated. Linda imprisoned. Dr. Chen suspended. Me in proper therapy despite their interference. Fair consequence for sabotaging mental health treatment. Healing continues. Despite them, beyond them, without them. That's enough.